been in there to tell him exactly where it is. Now he kicks to the front of the goal square. Up high there was Somerville, and the ball spills over for a boundary throw in the right forward pocket for the Bombers. They lead by that bare margin, 20 points, but in the context, hello, we might really have a...
As darkness prematurely fell upon Waverley Park last Saturday night, football was cast into chaos. The substation failure, which deprived the St Kilda and Essendon contest its natural conclusion, plunged the AFL into a black hole. You see, as the lights went out, no one knew what to do. Officials from both sides were confused.
The umpire's got to call it off, don't they?
No.
Well, no one's been in this situation before. It's quite an extraordinary situation. So it's all new to them, and they're all trying to keep warm and focus. You know, they're stretching and being rubbed and probably not aware totally what's going on.
AFL administrators, who had no contingency plan for such a catastrophe, were forced into damage control.
Just like Graham, the power station was working on the morning, and that's like everything else in the Cranbourne dogs go through, so just a matter of waiting.
No time on it,
No, they obviously worked out pretty quickly.
They're in contact with Ross or Colin. He's up here now. In where? Upstairs. So the information will come down here, will it?
As they burrowed around, anxiously seeking a ray of light at the end of this darkening tunnel, the 44,000 who had braved the frosty elements outside were left well and truly in the dark. The longer it took for a decision to be made, the greater the anxiety became among the crowd. With little or no security presence in the near total darkness, the ground was invaded and anarchy replaced order. As the scenes outside grew increasingly dangerous, the AFL's crisis management was being tested. In the end, a harried Ross Oakley was left to pick up the pieces.
Sure, we had to call additional police. There's some pretty disgraceful behaviour apparently been going on out in the ground. We're trying to secure the place at the moment and issue people with tickets.
The resolution? Tonight's extraordinary 30-minute conclusion. Two halves of 14 minutes plus time on, with the score standing from Saturday evening.
Simons dashing straight in from 30 metres, and Simons has kicked a goal for the Bombers.
It is a decision which has angered St coach Stan Alves. He's labelled it a joke. But with 4 points up for grabs, there will be nothing funny about what happens out there tonight.
Running into 25 metres and does it beautifully. Well done, Gavin Wanganeen.
Well, they certainly were incredible scenes. I'm Tim Lane. Good evening. Thanks for joining us on Football Feedback as we prepare to conclude what has been a truly extraordinary week in football. I can report that the lights are definitely on at Waverley tonight. Substations throughout the eastern suburbs are being tightly guarded, and that Ross Oakley is personally manning a primitive pedal-driven emergency generator just in case. We'll soon be crossing live to Waverley Park for the conclusion of the St Kilda Essendon match, which will, we hope, bring round 10 to an end. We've rounded up our usual, not suspects, panel to discuss the events of the last few days, headed of course by Lee Matthews, Rohan Connolly from the Sunday Age, and Peter Dacos, our sharpshooter here as well. Where were you when the lights went out, Lee?
Well, more importantly, we're here tonight, and all the Optus viewers, we're the only people who are going to see it live without going out to Waverley Park and freezing your little butt off.
This is old hat to you, isn't it? Because you were there when the sprinklers went on a few years ago.
Yes, we
nearly
were.
20 years back.
Hawthorn were playing Claremont in a night series game, and Claremont were coming home strongly, and we flicked the switch, and on come the sprinklers, and they're still spewing about in Western Australia, I can tell you.
Well, it wouldn't be Football Feedback without a Rohan Connolly scoop, and I believe you're claiming that Essendon did keep on playing and in fact won the match by 25 goals running away, right?
Oh, it was all said and done. No correspondence entered into it, Tim. No, it was an amazing... I actually just went along to help out the person we had doing the match report, Michael Lovett, and there was a bit of a flicker and then it all went out, and the first thing I thought was, I can't believe it, and the second thing I thought was, oh no, I've got to write another 3 stories. So it was a pretty eventful evening from a journalistic perspective.
How did the hard men and women of the media respond with cynicism, mirth, disbelief?
Bit of everything, really. I mean, the most amazing moment of it all was when the lights were out in the press box as well, and we had Tony Peake standing there trying to update us all on what was happening, and halfway through his elaboration, these spot fires start breaking out in the ground, so he sort of got lost in mid-sentence at some point. I think it was totally bizarre, to be quite frank.
And Dakes, you were there in the 3AW commentary box. Did the lights ever go out for you in a footy match?
I did actually, a commercial, SEC, how ironical. Days gone by, but I've been through it. We actually did a commercial, SEC, as I said, and it was sort of replayed the other night, but we had a ball out there because we got our own little bonfire going in our box on Saturday night, and by coincidence had marshmallows with us, so we had a ball.
You mean 3AW people were lighting the fires, and you said it was out on the ground, you press people.
We're in trouble again. I mean, even the Chief's been giving us hell today about beat-ups and whatever, but a bit of a change from when he was admitting to being shell-shocked on...
Well, you guys were out there. Were you any fear of your safety?
I thought that I went out of the press box and stood in the crowd for a good 10-15 minutes. I thought that the mood started to turn a lot uglier the longer it went on. And the thing about those bonfires is, I mean, it only takes someone pushing people... see, have a look at this. I mean, you push someone from behind, what's to stop them falling right into the path of that flame? I mean, that's dangerous. That's not just fun as far as I'm concerned. As for the lap of honour with a point post, well, not exactly savoury, I wouldn't have thought.
There's a real mixture of opinion, isn't there? Some have said, well, they had great fun and it demonstrated Australian sports fans' capacity to cope with unusual circumstances in a peaceful manner.
Well, I did, actually, Ross Oakley today at lunch sort of had a bit of a go at the Sunday Age about this so-called sensationalism, and I think he used I'm not sure if he used the word fun, but I asked him in response if this meant the league were going to have people carrying point posts around the boundary as a new form of grand final entertainment or something. We've tried everything else over the years, why not that?
Dakes, did you go onto the ground for any personal reconnaissance on behalf of your radio station?
It was pretty cold out there, Tim, so I kept Collingwood football. I sort of had my window bolted up and sat inside the box, but it was interesting because there was, I felt for whatever reason that within 10 or 15 minutes we'd be back in the game. And probably after about half an hour I started to realise that I think all things were shut off.
Well, what about the decision that has been made? Lee, what did you make of it? Because there were alternatives.
I must say, I would hope this isn't a precedent. I mean, it might not only happen once a century or whatever, but you've got to have a precedent for things of this unusual nature happening. I would think, frankly, that having a replay has to affect the preparation these sides have for the weekend. And I just think if the match gets abandoned before half-time, I think we declare it a draw. If the match has gone past half-time, then whoever's winning should get the 4 points. I think I would be sort of putting my weight behind that decision to be made in these kind of circumstances.
That could be controversial if a team was a point up 25 minutes into the third quarter and the other team was coming home with the win.
Well, whatever we do is controversial, really. I mean, in these circumstances, they are unusual circumstances, and you're trying to put in rules that gives the fairest result should they happen sometime in the future.
So, do you think the wrong decision has been made?
Well, I do. I mean, maybe. Yeah, I do, to be honest. I mean, I think tonight is... I mean, all right, it's going to finally determine the result of Saturday's game. But just mentally and physically, it's only a short amount of time they'll be playing, but you still physically got to build up for it, and it's got to affect your preparation for next weekend's game. So it's got a lot of ramifications around just more than just deciding who won last Saturday's game or who gets the 4 points.
Rohan?
I thought they got it 50% right. I mean, I didn't expect them to take the finish the game option on, but I thought it was probably the right one to do. My big reservation, and I think a lot of people have the same reservation, is allowing them to use full lists, because it throws up too many question marks about guys who played in one night, not the other night. You could have, well, we're going to have a situation, I think, where you've had 24 or 25 people playing for the one side. There's all sorts of anomalies that creates. And I recognise that there are guys who might not come up in time because of their age or whatever, but I think both sides should have been able to wear that and just battle on with the forces they have left. So I think they were right in taking the decision to finish the game, but I definitely think they should have restricted it to the sides that played on Saturday night.
I wonder if it wasn't a reason for actually, as Lee suggested, not finishing the game. If they went to both clubs who said, we can't put the same 21 in the field, that perhaps to preserve the integrity of football as we know it was a reason for actually saying we won't continue, we will.
And the way football is, I mean, really, if very rarely could you field the same 21 players 2 or 3 days after they'd played a game, even if they were okay at the siren. Usually the stiffness and soreness stakes usually means there'll be some players that won't come up that quick.
And exactly, Lee, and I think depending on who you speak to after the game, if you speak to a lot of the on-ballers, you're going to find a lot of the players are a lot sore, depending on where they've played. But you go to any training session on a Tuesday night at any AFL club, and you're going to find 4 or 5 players a lot worse off than a lot of the other boys, and a lot taking it easy through the week. So I think a full list is the right way to go, and more importantly, playing for the last 24 minutes.
Can I give a what if? What if Robert Harvey did his hamstring tonight? Can you imagine what the St Kilda attitude is going to be? Because we know that he's had suspect hamstrings, doesn't do much training during the week, and I'm sure he wouldn't be doing a really top-paced training session 3 days after a game.
Would they be as upset as playing in State of Origin and doing their hamstring?
At least that's a week later, that's what I'm saying. And true, the medical people would say we don't want our players to be playing, top pressure 2 or 3 days apart.
Well, however reluctantly State of Origin is accepted as part of the furniture, isn't it? Whereas this is something absolutely brand spanking new. We've never known anything like it.
No, we used to come out and play Tuesday nights in the old night competition. It was great fun.
And no one wanted to play in that either, did they, Lee?
Absolutely.
What about St Kilda and Stan Alves' angry reaction? It does seem, Rohan, as though there might have been a communication breakdown, perhaps not time for effective communication between the club president and the football side of the club.
On the face of it, I think you could say that, Tim, but I mean, it just begs the question, why wouldn't the president just get on the phone and say to the coach, listen, what do you think? I guess the other more cynical, perhaps journalistic view is that maybe Stan is playing a little psychological war games, if you like, and that St Kilda are going to come out tonight and have a real dip, because I must admit, I was very surprised to hear a coach basically say, well, we're preparing for another game, and he didn't concede tonight's game, but it was a remarkable thing for a coach to say, and it did make me think twice and wonder whether he was just playing some games.
Spoken like a truly pessimistic supporter of a team which is only 20 points up, and incidentally the scores are 9-9 to 6-7. We'll be previewing the game itself shortly, Dakes.
I was just going to say to Rohan, would you expect them to come out and do anything else bar go 100 mile an hour?
Well, not really. I mean, there's 4 points on the
But you're right, Stan didn't speak that way, did he? Stan was speaking as if he didn't really want to play, and that can rub off on the players. But as Rohan suggested, quite possibly that's not what he's saying privately to the St Kilda players. Like, privately he might have said to them, listen, we're going to have a little psychological game here with Essendon. We know we've got a 20-point margin to make up, so maybe we'll just say we're just going to have to play the game, and just maybe the Essendon people might be a little bit soft, and that maybe it's more devious than we think.
I think maybe he was getting in first before Sheeds had a chance to pull a psychological warfare. He beat him to the punch.
Well, we'll talk about Sheeds' possible responses and the way in which this unusual game might be played when we come back after a break. Ross Oakley apparently is just starting to warm up to get onto that pedal-driven emergency generator. 9-9 to 6-7 the score. The match will get underway at exactly 7:30, so in around about 15 minutes from now. Back with a preview shortly.
I hear you guys worship Aussie rules. Hey! What sort of religion is that?
Checkered Flag every Wednesday on Channel 12. If you like your power sport with grunt, it's time to take the Checkered Flag. Wednesday night exclusive to Channel 12.
Are you ready for this? Sports ESPN brings you the X Games. you ready for more? The X Games begin June 26 on Sports ESPN.
Welcome back, and we're just under 15 minutes from the first bounce. It will be a bounce in the centre of Waverley Park and not a throw-in Essendon's right forward pocket, and we might talk about that and perhaps that slight injustice to the Bombers in a little while. But let's go through the guidelines for this extraordinary mini football match. Lee Matthews has been saying Essendon warm favourites, not just because they're 20 points in front, but also because they're the Lightning Premiership champions of the AFL. They won that honour at the start of the year. Now, the official teams consisting of 21 players as submitted by 4 o'clock this afternoon to the AFL. The game will consist of 2 halves. There were 4 minutes 48 to go in the third quarter, plus 20 minutes in the last, a total of 24:48 plus time on. That means each half will be 12 minutes 24 seconds plus time on. I suppose around about 15 or 16 minutes in each half. There'll be a 6-minute break at half time, and the teams will change ends at the conclusion of the break. The captains will toss to decide the choice of ends at the start of the game, with the match starting, as mentioned, at 7:30. And the score, 9-9-63, Essendon, St Kilda 6-7-43. Now here's an interesting little historical aspect. All players participating either on Saturday night or Tuesday night will be accredited with one league match for statistical purposes, new footies for the start of each half. Now to the Essendon team, and each club has made 3 changes to the 21s that played nearly 3/4 of a game out at Waverley on Saturday night. The Bombers bring in Hurd, Alessio and Calthorpe, replacing Danaher, Cummings and Thompson. And the Saints likewise have made 3 changes to their lineup. The outs are Young, Sirakovsky and Hall. The ins are Shane Wakeland, Trianitis and Lappin. So there you have it. Well, Lee.
Well, James Hurd being in just adds salt to the wound, doesn't it, really? I mean, all the other players we've listed there at least played Saturday night. Some of them played reserves, but at least they played. Well, he wasn't available Saturday night, but he's playing tonight. I mean, that really, I just think, adds that little bit of extra ridiculousness, if that's the word, to this thing.
Brings ridicule upon it.
Thank you. That was the word I was searching for, but I couldn't find it.
Which puts it a bit more strongly.
Thank you. But I mean, I think that whether the replay was on or not, okay, you can dispute that point. But I just don't think there's any shape or form that a player who was unavailable Saturday night, didn't play at all, should be brought in for the night's game. And the fact that it's a player with James Hurd's talent, he's just irrelevant, really. He's a new player. He shouldn't be there.
And I'm told he's definitely there at Waverley Park, so he will be playing for the Bombers. How would you feel then? Would you be unhappy about it if you were the coach of either team?
Well, yeah, I think so. I mean, nothing. Essendon are only playing by the rules. I mean, James Hurd's allowed to be played, so they're going to play him. Nothing wrong with that. But I just think the AFL have then there was lights. But I think the AFL have just maybe erred in when they've set a full list. I think they maybe should have set a full list of players who played Saturday night at least.
Crowd building, but apparently a fairly modest one, despite the free admission. It's a long way to travel, I guess, if you don't live close to Waverley Park, but not a great deal of football.
Yeah, more than I expected to see there, Tim. Just on the Essendon side, quickly, I think not quite as significant as Hurd in, of course, but Danaher out is a bit of a blow for them because
well-prepared fans.
I was going to say before, actually, when the lights first flickered, then went out on Saturday night and all these cigarette lighters went up, and it was like a giant foreigner concert or one of those horrible West Coast American rock bands. And a few horrible thoughts flashed through their head then.
What occurred to me before? What happened with the timekeepers' clocks? The power went out. What happened to them? They just
no, well, they're in the press box, actually, and from what I could gather, they kept running, because when Tony Peake came in to officially abandon the match about an hour later, someone said, "Can the timekeepers turn the clocks off now?" And he said, yes, that was okay. So I think we realised at that stage there wasn't going to be any coming back. But Danaher, big loss for Essendon. He revels in those sort of conditions, and he was a really good player for them in the three quarters or so on Saturday.
He was probably their best player, Danaher, and when you consider they've got Calthorpe, maybe Danaher is maybe felt the pinch from the game, maybe that soreness, and you've got to probably consider his age as well into that. So, but Calthorpe into the side, Calthorpe and Denham look like backing up and picking up Burke and Harvey. So you put those two out, and I think you're well on your way.
Now, Lee, how different football contest is this? If you're in the coach's box, would you feel that this is a very different situation?
Well, I don't think so. I think you've got to almost just treat it effectively. It's a quarter of football, a little bit more in actual time, except you'll have a break in the middle of it. And I think this theory that because Essendon are 20 points in front, they should go defensive, pack the back line, all that kind of stuff. I mean, if you're 20 points in front at three-quarter time, you don't go and pack the back line. I mean, you play the game out in a normal fashion, and it'll be interesting just to see whether, in fact, because it is a short game, Essendon know they have the lead, they attack it that way. I remember last time we played Essendon, or the first time Collingwood played Essendon last year, Sheed started off with what I term the quarter-back line. They had three loose men playing as in a line between half-back and the full-back line, and I thought to myself, well, there's no way they can beat us doing that because they can't get the ball into their forward line. I mean, they might make it difficult for you to score. So I'm not so sure about the loose man back or the stacking defence would be a good tactic.
Lee, would you play your on-ballers, though, as sort of not worrying too much about becoming goal kickers, but playing them as sort of centre-back?
Well, I would think if Essendon don't score 2 or 3 goals, St Kilda are likely to score the 4 or 5 goals to win the game. I think Essendon still have to score. I don't think there's such little time to go that you can hold the game up for 5 minutes. That's fine, but you've got 30 minutes of football.
Who would be the better starter out of the two teams? I've seen St Kilda on a few occasions now, and it's so important. You're not going to get a lot of time in this game, so who would you say is...
Well, Essendon kicked the first 3 or 4
of each quarter.
Yeah, so I would have
Kilda's previous match, they kicked 3 before Carlton were on the board in very quick time at Waverley. So
I'm really intrigued by the psychology of it, though. I mean, in a normal match, we look at a 20-point deficit at three-quarter time. You think, well, anyone's game. For some reason, in the context of this game, everyone seems to be saying, St Kilda's really up against it. I don't think they're up against it at all. It's only
I think
3
that's
kicks.
a psychological battle for Essendon to make sure they start the game equal. And they don't think we've got a 20-point lead. We've just got to try and defend our 20-point lead. I think that's a bad psychology for Essendon. I don't think they'd fall for that, to be honest. I mean, St Kilda know they can go out and attack because they've got to, overcome the initial deficit. But from Essendon's point of view, I think it'll be a trap to try and be too defensive in their thinking.
What about that ball up to start the contest, given that it ended with Essendon deep in attack, and in fact with O'Connor, just as the lights went out, having a snapshot
Maybe
of
the
goal.
ball should start in mid-air, Tim. To be completely fair.
If St Kilda get the tap and a hand pass and a kick to Lowe who kicks a goal in the first 30 seconds, Essendon could feel pretty aggrieved, I would think.
It's a disgrace, Tim. No, I mean, I think...
Do you know how this came about? You were at an AFL media briefing today, Rohan. Was there any discussion of that?
Well, no, there wasn't. And I noticed Kevin Sheedy said yesterday he was asking the question, so I don't think they'd made a decision then. But it does seem like a bit of an anomaly. If you're going to go to the trouble of playing, 24 and 48 seconds or whatever, and you're going to go to all the trouble to set it up exactly as it were, you'd think you'd restart the game from where it finished. And the umpires did rule on Saturday night too, by the way, that had they come back, the game would have restarted with a throw-in from the forward pocket. So a bit hard to understand.
This whole situation, though, has been thought out very quickly, hasn't it? There hasn't been much time to think about all the ramifications of it, which is what you'd hope they would do now for future things. So, okay, we had to make a quick decision about this game. And
great problem, though, is you were saying you might demarcate between whether the lights went out in the first half or the second in determining how you'd handle it in the future. I mean, you could go from one end of the spectrum where 5 minutes into the first quarter they went out with one team a point ahead. You couldn't possibly declare them the winner. To the other end of it where 29 minutes into the last quarter with one team 100 points ahead, the lights went out. So you can't have one rule, and maybe they have to be...
Our football schedule is so crowded. We talk about the State of Origin weekend. It's so crowded. I don't think we can play games as replays except when we get to grand final day.
Ross Oakley did say today at this lunch I was at that that was one of the things they had to establish, just what constituted an official game. I mean, I think we have that definition in...
limited over cricket.
Yeah, exactly, and it's a lot less than half the overs, so isn't it? So I think, say, half a game of footy is probably reasonable on that score, depending on who's in front.
Although, yeah, I mean, gee... Collingwood were 44 points up at half-time in the 1970 grand final.
We could have a lot of revising of history going on, couldn't we?
And the 1973 second semi-final. We did something on one of our fantastic finals programs. Preliminary final 73, Collingwood 45 points in front. I had forgotten that one.
I'll tell you what, one thing that occurs to me, and probably only half jokingly, I think they'll want to be thinking about moving the substation at Waverley just in case someone has vandalism on their minds the next time they play a night game at Waverley.
What about the UFO sightings out there?
Yeah, well, someone started playing the Twilight Zone music at some stage when we were talking about it.
Have we got the culprit? Have we actually worked out...
it's a little transformer and he's disappeared.
Actually, the rumour... One of the rumours was a Foxtel van was seen leaving Waverley.
Oh, dear. Rohan, you wouldn't have sort of waved the night grand final red rag in front of Ross Oakley?
No, much better than that, Tim. No, I left it about 15 seconds instead of 10, so... Yes, I gave him a little get out there. No, I must admit I did take some relish in asking the question about what this would do for the PR concept of the night grand final. And I have to say it didn't go down very well. But I think despite the official denials, it really is a bit of a black mark against it because, as unlikely as it is that this will ever happen again, it's just one more factor in the equation and one more thing that can go wrong. And let's admit it, if this had to happen in a grand final, whether you replayed it or not, it would be an absolute farce and would ruin the whole season.
Peter Landy told me yesterday that the one time apparently an emergency generator has been set up, I don't know how Pete found this out, but he sounded full of authority, was for the World Cup final at the MCG in early 93, and the organisers, at a cost of $30,000, had installed an emergency generator for that event. But normally there isn't one at the MCG, so it could happen apparently.
I thought about that. So if there's a power failure at the MCG, the lights go out. No sort of internal power.
So Peter Landy told me.
Well,
so must be right. Yeah, right. So it's almost as good as reading it in the paper. In fact, Pete, it's even better. I've just been told that Trianitas, who we had as in the St Kilda side, is in fact not playing, and that Young, who we had out of the team, is playing. So it looks like just two changes at St Kilda, and a crowd of 10 to 15,000 at Waverley Park, which with the temperature likely to plunge to fairly low single digits again, and for just 24 minutes or so of football, is not bad, is it?
I reckon they should have thrown in a free grand final ticket for anyone who turned up. What do you reckon? So some of those corporate whackers in the boxes there.
Well, you're the expert on events such as this, Lee, because you're the only one here who played in the sprinkler match at Waverley in 1977. Who's going to win?
Well, I think Essendon will win. I mean, if you're starting from scratch, you probably think Essendon were favourites. So the fact that they have a lead, they're the logical favourites. So I'd still stick with them.
Rohan, you were oozing pessimism a little while ago.
I always do. No, I'd stick with them. I think, if they get the first goal, it might just about be over. But given that it's Lightning Premiership conditions, does this mean Shea Cockatoo-Collins is going to be the best player on the ground? Because he was absolutely on fire in the Lightning Premiership.
Lightning Premiership specialist.
Yeah.
And Dakes, do you give the Saints a chance?
Not really. I'd say with the lead, as the boys are saying, I think with the lead, you have to go for Essendon. I'm looking for something a little bit different. Once more from Sheeds, I think he'll pull something out. He's got the upper hand. It's nice to always start with a lead, isn't it, going into a game?
We expect it of Sheeds, and he expects it of himself. And if he goes out and puts him in normal positions, we'll all be disappointed.
You think there'll be something obvious from him?
Maybe it's more obvious to be obvious, so he won't be obvious, just to fool us.
What do you
mean? You know how he fools us with this lateral thinking?
He'd be out to protect it, I think. I've just got a funny feeling, not so much to build on. I think the boys will go all out, but I think he'd want to protect the lead as well. I think he'd be in there with something.
They have had a tendency to do that this year. I mean, first game of the year, they were about 8 goals up on Richmond, sat back and tried to protect that, nearly lost the game. Sydney up in Sydney, they were 5 goals up with 10 minutes to play, just hung on for a draw, so they'd want to be careful.
Well, here we go. Umpire Panozzo holds the ball aloft. 24 minutes and a few seconds. The commentators Bruce McAvaney, Ian Robertson and Malcolm Blight at Waverley Park.
9 to 6-7. Somerville ran into the umpire, didn't get an opportunity. Daniels kicks to half forward. First goal is going to be vital here. Mark taken by Fraser at half-back. So 5 changes to both teams. James Hird out on the ground. Fraser goes wide, gets his man in prior, runs away. Good crowd here on a very still, calm but cold night. Buick brilliantly at 55. Kicks the ball out of bounds on the full. And the Saints to bring it back in. Robbo, welcome.
Good on you, Bruce, and continuation of an historical evening that we witnessed here on Saturday night. Malcolm.
Yes, it was indeed, Ian, wasn't it?
Oh, dear me. Well, the lights are on and the football's very, very much in the action here. Barnard's kick could be marked by Simons, missed it altogether. Joel Smith, hand pass goes to Shanahan. Shanahan gets the ball towards centre wing. A real contest there. Fletcher fell over. Everett keeps his footing, but is he agile enough? He kicks it over on the full. Not quite good enough there by Peter Everett. Idea wasn't bad, but execution 2 out of 10. Harvey with the football. He's at right half back. The ball is probably 2.5 kicks from the St Kilda goal. He goes in towards centre half back and Berbatov has taken the mark. Youngsters being tried out in this match. Justin Bloomfield. Danny Morgan has already played a few games for the Bombers. There's a mark taken by Somerville. Somerville is on centre wing. Will put Essendon into their attacking half. The kick is not bad. Oh, Alessio nearly plucked it out of the air. It's been paid. Top effort by Stephen Alessio. And he's taken the mark about 50 metres from goal.
Gee, what a terrific hit out this will be for him too, and Hird, coming back from injury, he's just a key player to them at centre half forward.
Watched a little bit of him in the reserves on Saturday before the senior game, and it didn't look too bad. So here he is in the seniors for this 30 minutes of football. Is that a score? No, it's out on the full. So the kicking so far in this match, maybe the boys are just a little excited because they want to get into it pretty quickly. There's not much time to warm up in what's it going to be, about 32 minutes of football.
Probably, actually 24 minutes of playing time, of course, with time on, when they're actually not doing anything.
Cripps, one of the late inclusions for St Kilda, along with Matthew Young, not named at the 4 o'clock situation. Harvey. Here's Young away. Saints need a positive thrust. They trail by 20 points. Everett's got it. Long way from goal. Lowe now leads. Everett tries to get it to him. Gets to 50. There's a free kick coming up. And it's going to St Kilda and going to Stuart Lowe.
Yes, amazing, Bruce. All the St Kilda players ran forward then. They're really going to try and win this.
Lowe's kick will get within about 10 metres of the goal. Big fly from the side. Kick clear and might be a goal there to Brown. He's got it. It's what the match needed. The Saints to get the first. And suddenly that scoreboard tightened. 7-7 to 9-9.
Yes, amazingly. Just mentioned all the St Kilda players ran forward. I think they're really trying to get after this. There's a little nudge onto Lowe, which was pretty soft indeed. But the kick comes to the top of the square. Players everywhere. Simons almost goes to Brown, and both Essendon players, Harvey and Buick, appealed. Play on. Goal.
Well, it's a goal. No doubt about that. It's on the scoreboard. Chance again for the Saints. Not able to break clear. This is Lappin, beaten for it by Buick. Buick finds a bit of space and then kicks with the left foot towards half forward. Chopped off by Shanahan. Just transfers play a little bit. Wakeland. Kick towards the wing. The mark is taken by Ozzie Jones. Looks to play on. Gives the handball over the top. Daniels gives it back to the better kick. But he's tackled well. Ozzie Jones. Handball away. Chance there for Mark Fraser. Handball to Kelthorpe. Then to Harvey. Harvey's kick to a vacant wing area. It'll bounce close to the line and trundle over for a throw-in.
Yes, important matchup. Sean Denham playing on Nathan Burke, who was almost pitched on ground on the original game, Ian.
Just couldn't quite pick it up, Bruce, but number 42, McLean, is in this St Kilda team as well. So the 3 emergencies are all in the team at the expense of, looks like, Trianides, Anderson, and if we can pick up the third one who's missing, it might be Vidovic, is it? Could be Lazar Vidovic who may be missing.
And Kelthorpe running with Robert Harvey.
Denham's got Burke, Malcolm. McLean lays it down towards Keogh. Young, Keogh again, at half forward. Everett punches forward. Pryor Going to ground with Somerville. Prize hands okay to O'Donnell. O'Donnell to Harvey. Gone. Just gets the handball to Bergerkoff under pressure. Kick away. Brown couldn't smother. Chance for Fraser and Hurd. They've got a paddock. Hurd can give it off to Simons. Does now. This could be a telling moment. Simons a fair way from goal. Swings the handball back into Barnard. Barnard goes back to Simons. Kicks from 50. It's sailing close. It might be a behind. Just going away at the last moment for Simons, and Essendon move up to 9 goals, 10 to 7-7. So the margin is 15 points.
Not really a scoring in, do you think? That breeze looks as though it's
just floating our way a bit, isn't it?
Yeah, not all that much in it. So this is Young. He's a good kick of the football, Matthew Young. He finds his target with excellent precision. It's Nathan Burke. Burke's kick is high towards half forward. St Kilda mark taken by Darryl Wakeland. Gets the hand pass away, and it's easily chopped off by Michael Pryor. Knocked over for a boundary throw-in.
Well, that's what they've got to do, Ian. If they're going to win this coming from behind, they've got to take a few risks to win it. And that's certainly one of them.
Well, it's all or nothing as far as St Kilda are concerned. Maybe the Bombers. Well, they were guarding a 20-point advantage at the start of the match. It's back down to 14, 15. 8 minutes left. Burke knocked off the football there by Michael Simons, and it goes over for a boundary throw-in. Sean Denham picking himself up and dusting himself down. That redhead there is McLean, who was one of the emergencies, up against O'Connor in the ruck. McLean gets his hand to it. Kelthorpe gets it to Simons. Not quite far enough. Burke run down by Mercury, but he's able to get his kick away. Not all that effective. Gathered about 30 metres for the Saints. And it's a boundary throw in right half forward, nearly up to the 50-metre line for St Kilda. In their forward half, certainly. So they're a chance to score again here.
Somerville and Everett. Calthorpe's handball to Mercury, to Denham, back to Hurd, round the corner, Young in the front spot, punches away, free kick to Mercury. And just for those statisticians out there, I'm going to tell you that the three-quarter time score will officially be 7-7 to 9-10. When the record book goes down, we're now at three-quarter time. It had to be after 4 minutes 48 plus some time on. It's all too confusing, I know. O'Connor's got it at centre wing. But what's good about it, we do have a live contest.
Yes, I think it was important that St Kilda get the first goal. And if they could get another one, but that's a terrific mark from behind McLean by Somerville. I think it was mentioned on Saturday night, a much improved player, and he's certainly an important part of this Essendon lineup in their quest for success this year. Mark taken by Fraser. In goes Fraser, and he's put it through for a goal to the Bombers. Very important answering goal there. St Kilda got the first goal of this first half of the additional 24 minutes plus time on, but Essendon hit back.
Here's Somerville going in the Hurd direction and beautifully chipped off in front by Fraser. Hit the ground running and made no mistakes. So we're really back status quo. In fact, the Bombers 1 point to their better off. Or much better off, yeah.
We know what you mean, Blind.
Yeah, I was just
7-7 to 10-10. So Fraser's goal. A body blow now. Denham. Burke. To Young. Well done. To Harvey, that's what they've got to do, break lines. Harvey should go on here. Everett's going to provide a shepherd. Could he take the man on? He's in trouble now, Harvey. Back to Young. Young's hands are okay. Everett, can he trap it? Can't. They may still have an opportunity. Pushes it forward. The Bombers may hold them up. Brown, Pryor. It'll be a bounce. Just got disorientated, didn't he, Harvey? Ran out of ideas in the end. He had the ball for too long. Trying to draw someone to him.
He's lucky he didn't get penalised.
Yeah, had it a long time. Inside 50, St Kilda attacking. Fraser kicked a goal for Essendon. Keogh's shot. Low, gets set. Jones at the front. Smith, Jones, left foot. It's a behind. So now, Malcolm, we're exactly back to where we were. It's a 20-point game.
Yes, well, throw still for saw from Saturday night. Interesting, I mean, they really are taking some chances. I mentioned St Kilda, which they've got to. And running forward, there's only 2 players back over the centre square for Essendon.
So the kick in has been marked by James Hurd. Doesn't he look such a composed athlete, James Hurd? St Kilda fans booing him because obviously they feel that it's not justified that he be in the lineup. But, well, the rules were set down, and he's out there in an Essendon jumper. And he'll have something to do with the contribution here, I would think, if the Bombers are to win this game. Play on now, Daniels kicks across his left shoulder, and that's a good diving effort by young Brown. He kicked St Kilda's goal early in this first half. Nathan Burke's kick across his body. There's a free kick down the ground. No, play on. Up by Dennis Rich. Throwing his hands in the air. O'Donnell caught. Berbakoff's handball. Here's Offie Jones. What can he do? Give it to Matthew Young. Oh, set it up and sit underneath it. Stuart Lowe, he did. Somehow manufactured a kick, and Everett's on the end of it. So the Saints have a chance to get a goal back here and bring the margin back to 14 points. And wouldn't it be exciting if they can just get up there near the Bombers?
Yes, it's quite a good crowd here too. There's probably I reckon over 15,000 people here, which is amazing.
Well, the people in the local area, they get in for nothing, so you might as well come and see some good football. And Peter Everett has kicked a goal for St Kilda.
Yes, and now the pressure must come from the midfield here. This is the ball that they must win, St Kilda, if they really need to get 2 goals in succession. One of the things I'm just interested in is the players' recovery rate now. Blokes that have been around the footy going very hard, they'll be very pumped up, and now just starting to find their second win if you've been in the play. Hasn't been out Essendon in very much. They've got to be a bit cold down that end of the ground.
10-10 to 8-8, Everett's goal, closing it again. As Malcolm said, vital that the Saints get the next one. McLean, Lappin. It's okay to Keogh, who can thump the ball, measures it to Lowe, sets himself, Hurd front spot, Everett at the back, trying to go through Neil, Berbakoff in there, it'll be a bounce, but it's at St Kilda's end.
Bruce, there hasn't been a ball go out wide to the kick, it's been to the big fellas, Everett or Lowe, they're not mucking around.
And they've put themselves in the contest. Everett been important here. Masidi, under pressure, gave it up. Harvey, still Harvey, can't quite. Trying to crash through. Here's Mercury. And is it a free kick? I'm not sure. Mercury coming back to Pryor. Keepy's off a bit. And Pryor now to slow it. Pryor just letting him know. Dennis Rich asking Stewie Lowe maybe to come back.
All duck or no dinner for St Kilda, isn't it? I mean, they faced a 20-point deficit. They came out here with every chance to win the game, and the Bombers protecting a 20-point lead.
It's almost where we started. When the ball finished the other night, when you were calling.
Yes.
So Pryor will go long and gets it outside 50. O'Connor, Wakeland from the side, no mark to Simons, to ground. Harvey, well done Harvey. Good handball inboard. Bardsley under pressure. Daniels goes back. Opportunity now. It's close, just missing Jones. So he's kicked 2 behinds, young Aussie. And the Saints 8-9 to 10-10.
I like the look of him, Aussie Jones. He's not built all that big, but
terrific mover, isn't he? Just great awareness. Look at him, real skinny kid still, isn't he?
Keen as mustard too, I would say. Him and Joel Smith, players of the future for St Kilda, and one of the players of the future for Essendon. Oh, Michael Pryor's given it up. Mark is taken by Lowe. If it's not a mark, it would be a free kick, you would have to suggest.
Here go all the St Kilda players running forward again.
Is the short pass on? Yes. Oh no, Stuart Lowe, not all that confident there. So he's going back to bomb it to the front of the square. Where is Everett? At the back. Alessio, Somerville, O'Donnell. Bit of composure there, Fraser. Back to Berbakoff, he missed it altogether. Fraser did well to find some space and get the kick back to the wing. Mark taken by Hurd. Look at that positive bit of football by James Hurd. He kicks the ball to full forward. Oh no, mark. Play on, Buick not paid. Back after it again. Looking for the free kick. The ball spills for McLean. McLean able, yes, just to tap it on. Chance now for Lappin. He's dumped to the ground and a free kick has been picked out. It's Brian Sheen indicating maybe it's not Lappin. It's gone back a little bit further to... Yes, it is Lappin. Well, I was a bit with you, Bruce. I thought maybe there might have been a free kick a little bit earlier than that. But Lappin kicks St Kilda down towards the wing where Keogh is marked.
Getting some touches, Keogh, and tries to take his man on. Doesn't do it particularly well. Masidi holds it up. But it's very evident the Saints' tactics here and their philosophy. Move it at all costs. Keogh again inside 50. Fletcher attacks. Well done. They couldn't quite put a tackle on him. Back into the centre. Bad mistake made there by Bardsley. Wanganeen gets it. Could finish. Keeps it low. Good looking kick. It's there. Well done.
Smart play by Wanganeen. He kicked a goal like that on Saturday night.
He did down the other end, yes. Actually, one of the interesting things was actually Everett and Lowe swapped then from full forward to centre half forward. Fletcher went back and read it better than the big fella Everett, got caught behind and really has set up this play. That would have been obviously worked out before. They do it in a lot of games, but Everett just didn't read that kick coming in.
So Gavin Wanganeen, 2 goals for this game.
And amongst the
how
votes
far
too.
apart are they? 72 hours.
He'd be amongst the votes too, Ian, wouldn't he?
Oh my word, he was very good early in that game on Saturday night. Instrumental in getting Essendon off to a terrific start. Nathan Burke just gets a kick away, but it's been marked by Joe Mercedes. He's been dumped by Daniels and Fletcher Everett. Not really any necessity for this. I don't think. I would reckon that Joe Mercedes would be able to get up and take his kick, although he's still on the ground behind play.
Yes, they really haven't got 2 in a row, Essendon, have they? St Kilda, rather. Up to that, nearly that margin again.
Well, we'll have another look at what happened to Joe Mercedes.
Certainly was a high approach to the ball in the smart tackling, smothering effort.
Well, they're having a look at his jaw, maybe. And he's going to have to come off, so...
Yeah, unfortunately, didn't get him high, didn't he? Tackling the spoils, I should say.
Well, I apologise, Joe. Kevin Sheedy down on the boundary. There's not that much time left in this first half, about a minute and a half. And after half-time, we have a 6-minute break at half-time. Coaches address the players on the ground. And then we've got that time plus time on.
12 minutes and 24 plus the bit extra.
St Kilda have done all right, but they've allowed Essendon to kick 2 goals as well.
Morgan's on the ground for Mercedes. So the kick going to Denham. There's Bruce Reid with Mercedes off the ground, so it's bad luck for Joe there. No 50 metres, so Denham to kick it from centre half back. The score here is 11-10 to 8-9. Comes wide to centre wing. Somerville the target. Did very well Saturday night and has started well here. Pushes to the boundary line. Pretty happy, I think, to see it go over. So boundary throw in. Somerville, McLean, Burke, and Morgan pushes to the line.
Yes, Dennis Rich, the umpire, then had a good look at it, but he certainly was deliberate, no doubt about that.
So 19 points the margin.
A minute left, the ball is on centre wing. Now the chances with Essendon. Oh, strong at the footy was Keogh. Mercury, the Essendon player, but Keogh, with just rough, tough determination, took the football and just locked it up. It's forward of centre wing, Essendon's attacking half. Bombers lead by 19 points. Somerville gets it down, close to the line. Denham, Harvey gives away a bit of ground, but Wanganeen, anticipation, not quite able to gather it, but got an important hand to it, and it's out of bounds in the left half forward area for Essendon. Half a minute left in the first half. Nathan Burke and Denham.
Interesting, Ian, those on-ballers will probably run the whole game. Well, the 2 12-minute halves.
Yes, you'd think with a little break coming up shortly that they'll be able to run it right out in that second half. McLean gets his hand to it. St Kilda would do well to hold the Bombers up with just seconds left in this first half. The siren will sound shortly. The umpire will bounce the ball. There's Danny Morgan. And there is the siren. So it is half-time in this historical additional 25 minutes of a game that was delayed from Saturday night And at half-time here, what would you call it, Bruce? Three-quarter time now. Probably Essendon 11-10 leads St Kilda 8-9.
Do they do enough now?
Tonight, a Sports Australia exclusive with all the first test highlights.
He's gone out, got in the covers.
Two of the traditional giants of world cricket, England and India, battle it out on the fields where the game began.
In the air and gone.
A battle of tactics between Atherton and Azruddin, the playing bats of Tendulkar and Thorpe. The England-India first test highlights, tonight at 12 o'clock on Sports Australia.
Welcome back. Half-time, or is it? I'm not quite sure what to call it. Essendon leading by 19 points. The Saints just pulling back 1 point on the 20-point deficit that they started facing. Essendon 11-10-76, St Kilda 8-9-57. Just before we chat about it, we do have the real changes that the teams made to the lineups that contested nearly three-quarters on Saturday night. Essendon bringing in Hurd, Alessio, Morgan, Bloomfield and Calthorpe. Out, Doolan. The Lightning Premiership specialist, Cockatoo Collins, Danaher, Cummings and Thompson. And 4 changes in the Saints 21. In Shane Wakelin, Matthew Lappin, the second of the twins, McLean and Cripps, and out Anderson, Sirakovsky, Vidovic and Hall. Interesting actually that teams were faxed out by the AFL's media department at 16:27 and 16:28. Today we were told in the guidelines that the teams had to be in and formalised by 4 o'clock this afternoon, but evidently there were later changes. Now there are the Saints at half-time, and Stan Alves looks about as unhappy as he was about the whole thing being put on in the first place.
More importantly though, Tim, does it look like a coach who doesn't really care about the game? Does it?
No, absolutely not. But I think both sides probably almost had to wait till their playing list got out to the ground to finalise sides, I suspect. I mean, possibly it was, some of these players who were a little bit iffy last night, how were they when they got there tonight and had a look at the medical staff? I don't think it was necessarily playing games that the teams at 4 o'clock were different than the ones that were actually...
But these were guidelines laid down by the AFL. I mean, they were probably written about 20 years ago.
No, it said that the 21 has to be named, but the players who came into the sides came out of the 4 o'clock emergency, so they were allowed to do that.
Tony Brown kicked the first goal for the Saints, and Rohan Conley was shifting uneasily in his chair, Dakes. In fact, he almost knocked you off yours.
How many times did you knee me?
3.
Elbow me? 2 elbows and 3 knees.
That's all right.
It was just the start they wanted, wasn't it? They looked as though they were on the way there.
Well, they were finding it pretty hard. I thought they were, in a real rush or a real hurry, St Kilda, and 12 minutes of football's a long time. Within sort of 4 minutes you can sort of have 2 or 3 goals on the board. I thought they were in a mad rush, rushing. More importantly, they were only crowding their own forward line in the end, I think, making it hard. And as we've seen with that one Wanganeen goal near the end there, it was one long kick out into an open field, and away Essendon went.
It does look difficult conditions too. Players are losing their feet, very easily. It looks like pretty dewy and pretty slippery conditions, I would think.
It's a very good argument for keeping knife footy at the MCG, I think, this game so far. But I mean, the thing that struck me is I think Essendon looks pretty panicky in defence, but it's looked pretty composed and taken the better options in attack. So 6 of one, half dozen the other a bit.
Here's the third goal. Peter Everett of St Kilda kicking their second of the night, and once again edging them back to within 2.5 goals. They've on each occasion kicked the first goal, but then the Bombers have been able to respond. Everett always dangerous.
Great pass by Lowe too.
Play in front and the kick will always drop short. That's usually what happens, isn't it?
Especially with Stewie Lowe. But St Kilda's actually team list. I mean, they're pretty big for when you consider their conditions out there. And you think they may have learned something by Saturday night, even in sort of the night games. There's a lot of duel on the ground, balls on the ground, so they've gone in with a pretty tall team.
Essendon's got a pretty small defence, though, Doug. So I mean, maybe that would have been a factor in the equation.
Well, they've got also the big guy in the ruck, 42 for St Kilda, McLean. Sorry. They've sort of got him running around the ruck. They've got the two big boys up forward. And I think their style of play of just bombing into Lowy has sort of played in Essendon's hands a little bit, because they have gone and dropped a player back there, I think, which is James.
Plays restarted, Dake, so we must get back to it. And the Bombers straight into attack out of the centre, and they've kicked it behind at the start of the second half.
Then Fraser got one back, then Everett goal. There's Basidi, who had to come off the ground, carried off the ground, not on a stretcher, but carried from the ground. And then Wanganeen got one back, so it's been St Kilda, Essendon, St Kilda, Essendon. That's been the sequence of the goals. Peckett goes short and gets to Young.
Matthew Young, former Hawthorn player, kicks towards the boundary line, and Shanahan has taken the mark. He's outside his defensive 50. The short kick, is it been paid? Yes, or Buick. He looks a little bemused at the umpire, but Peckett has been paid. He's at left half back for St Kilda.
Lined up at full forward too. O'Connor in the pocket.
Must kick a goal quickly, the Saints, if they're to win this game, remembering that there's only about 16 minutes of play left. Joel Smith picks himself up. Boundary throw in. Right on centre wing. Everett, O'Connor from behind. Chance for Daniels, tackled by Morgan, didn't have the football, didn't really have control of it. Daniels free kick, looked to give the hand pass away, and then decides to kick. It gets close to the 50-metre line. Everett in front, here's a chance. Tries to get it back towards Cripps. Everett still. Well, that really wasn't all that productive. Tony Brown, who kicked a goal for St Kilda in the first half tonight, not able to gather that awkward ball. Somerville to do the ruck work. Essendon 20 points in front. You can see the time remaining. Of course, we have to add time on to that 11 minutes. David Kelthorpe, who wasn't in the team on Saturday night, coming in and having a run around. It's as though he may be matching up on Robert Harvey.
Somerville and Everett. Keogh over the top of Calthorpe. Now with the football. Does very well, tries to draw a man and then kicks to the pocket to Lowe. Good stretch. Oh, he had a lot of it, Big Stewie. Punched away at the last moment, I think by Fraser, and out of play. He's had a couple of good grabs, Lowe. Had one or two shots from about 50, just too far out in the opening half. Everett and Brown, the goal scorers for the Saints. Wanganeen and Fraser in similar circumstances for Essendon. And the Bombers happy to see it go out, but St Kilda in attack. They haven't been able to get within 2 goals. They've got within 14, 15 points on a couple of occasions. Somerville works to the front, Everett at the back. Denham quickly onto the boot. Lappin's taken the mark just outside 50, playing his first match for the season. Delivers. Low, good lead and a good mark. Well, this is a big moment, Malcolm. Any chance the Saints have got depends on this kick from Low. He missed one just before half-time on Saturday night, which would have brought the Saints within a point at the time. And then Essendon were able to get a late goal, which stretched the margins.
Great arms then, weren't they? Just out in front, Berbekop had absolutely no chance whatsoever.
So a nervous moment for Saint fans. needing this goal. Is it coming back? No. He's just missed. And not the result they needed. 8, 10, 11, 11. He's not going to get many better chances than that to convert.
It's actually 2-5 for the game.
It really is a strange setup, isn't it? It looks as though the players are just careful, you know, they're not letting loose. This is Harvey with the football for the Bombers. He kicks it close towards the wing, and that mark has been paid to Barnard in front of young Lappin. Another former Hawthorn player. Of course, with the Bombers, Paul Barnard. He decides to kick it back towards the centre of the ground. Harvey couldn't take the mark. Denham at the back. Wanganeen missed it altogether. Denham goes in again. Wanganeen dispossesses his own teammate and then gets the kick away. High towards centre half forward. Chance there for Alessio. Tackling, but not able to dispossess the St Kilda player Cripps. Who was another one of the changes that St Kilda made to their original lineup. O'Connor, McLean over the top. Barnard, kick across his left shoulder. Lands in the pocket, and well done, good running. Mercury eyes on the footy. Had to cover a bit of ground to get there and took the mark safely on his chest about 30 metres out. Very difficult angle.
Yeah, amazing play for young Lappin then as we watch this in replay. Great mark from Mercury. The ruck work actually, Lappin went into the contest with a lot of players as he chips the footy.
Too far there for Kelthorpe. Taken away by Cripps. His kick towards the wing. Lappin, can he gather that awkward ball? Yes, but not before the boundary line looms up, so we'll have a throw in.
Perhaps I'll just finish that, Ian. Young Lappin raced into the contest really tight. Barnard just stayed back at it, and it really did create an opportunity, which they've now actually blown.
Mercury's short pass coming unstuck. O'Connor, well done, with strength, and then goes long. Gets it well inside 50. Hurd in a wrestling match there with Young. Now Hurd, good hands, Buick, a very good kick. Look at that one go home. Fantastic goal to Buick. 12-11 to 18.
Can I suggest with that noise, there's got to be 20,000 people here. Amazing. Great skills. And that's the quality, isn't it? That's the quality of James Hurd and the finish of Buick. Fantastic. Practice and more practice gets you that good. I really believe that. Those sort of kicks around your body.
Certainly a plus for Essendon, being able to put James Hurd into this lineup. Quality player who's been out for a couple of weeks with a hand injury and still able to handle a football with a lot of surety. McLean again, he's been good. Burke to Young. Young goes straight towards Lowe. Lowe from behind. Big fist to it. Gathers by Joel Smith. Shrugs the tackle and then hooks the kick too far. And St Kilda offline. If they had been able to kick a little straighter, maybe a little bit more pressure on the Bombers at this stage with 8 minutes left, Essendon lead by 24 points.
Pryor was going short. He had Berbikoff. He's resisted the temptation. He may still go there. He'll be asked to kick it now. Looks like he's going to go for distance and kick in the Wanganeen direction low. He cut one off in the first half in similar circumstances. Wanganeen to ground. Gone, holding the footy. Neil coming over the top. Wanganeen unhappy with the way he was tackled. He certainly had the ball for long enough. Now Neil kicked a couple of goals Saturday night. He's going to kick from 55. The ball at the front of the square, Low caught underneath, gets back, had a bit of it, Berbikoff, and what's happened? Brian Sheehan's going to call it a bounce, is he? Gee, he picked that out quickly because Berbikoff was away. St Kilda were claiming that Low held the mark. It seemed to run down his jumper. And could the Saints manufacture one here? Low and Everett, some big strong bodies, and force through from behind. So the points are totaling up for the Saints, but it's not enough. It's 8-12 to 12-11. So what are they added, Robbo? 2-5 to 3-2.
I'm looking at you, Malcolm, because I thought Lowe was half a chance of getting a free kick out of that ruck contest.
Yeah, I was just thinking the margin's 20 points. I can say, what are we doing here?
Pryor, who took the kick in from Fletcher. The ball rebounds back towards half forward. Herb grabbed, didn't have the football. Umpire called play on. Now Berbatov over the top there of Nathan Burke. And Burke will take the free kick for St Kilda. He's too far out to score. Isn't he a gutsy little player, Nathan Burke? He's kicked towards full forward, the front of the square. Low interfering there, and I would suggest that maybe Berbatov is going to get the free kick. Just being pushed out of that marking contest. And he relieves for Essendon. He's kicked towards the pocket, and James Hurd wraps it up. Well, you wouldn't think that the Bombers would care too much about time wasting. He's going to get a 50-metre penalty. He won't be in any hurry whatsoever as the seconds tick away as far as St Kilda are concerned. 6.5 minutes left, and Essendon lead by,
look at this,
19 points.
I mean, Hurd really, I mean, that was really sucked in stuff. I mean, it probably won't make any difference to the game, but I mean, that's just a very ordinary decision. You can see Hurd just letting himself get grabbed. I mean, Hall did nothing to him, really.
Mercury goes backwards to Hurd. At half back. So, Robbo said earlier, the Saints fans giving him a Bronx cheer every time he gets near it, and he is getting near it a few times. Somerville goes to the boundary line as he's done all night.
And that's unfair too, because both clubs agreed to this. I honestly thought that they shouldn't have played anybody else in the 21, but that's a personal opinion. It's not. So why should they be booing one player? Not fair.
Mercury, Wanganeen busy as he was Saturday evening. Inside 50, Harvey sets himself through the fingers. Neil's kick didn't go anywhere, unfortunately, off lap, and well done, Keogh, who has played well. He'll want to get rid of him now. He does, and he just got past Wanganeen. It's into the centre, low strongly to Smith. Well-weighted handball to Jones. Got to go all the way, Aussie. Kick the left. It's going to be close. No, pushing a guy at the end. Yeah, the handball outside.
Why wouldn't you get the ball? I mean, I just don't understand some people in players. I mean, when you get the ball at centre half back, you've got the whole paddock in front of you. Why wouldn't you just go direct? Why would you decide on doing anything else? Particularly when you're 4 goals down.
8-13 to 12-11. Fletcher to bring it back in.
Bit of indecision by the maybe the lesser experienced St Kilda lineup. It'll be interesting to see from games played, because there's a few Essendon players that haven't played much football out there tonight too. And this is one of them, young Berbatov. He's got a big job trying to contain Stuart Lowe. The kick across the full-back line has been taken by Denham. He's prepared to give the time clock, try and run it down, but Fletcher is there. Harvey was a chance to gather that ball. Fletcher's kick will go close to the line, not far enough. Gathered by Brown, kick it towards centre forward. Oh, he slipped over, but he was still able to judge it. And it was well done too, wasn't it, by big Stuart Lowe, a big man, but still able to control the footy. Short pass, a bit too high. James Hurd gets back. Shane Wakeland's into the action. Tackle, Wanganeen. Tackled by Elliott. Kicked away by Fraser. Free kick, says the umpire. And it will go back to Essendon at left half back. And it could be, was it Hurd or Fraser? Wanganeen, is it?
I thought he must have missed it, because it seemed to be a late whistle.
The other umpire, Brian Sheehan, made the decision off the ball. The second umpire. It was definitely a high tackle.
Just going back to that point, you see that a lot in footy now. They look for blokes out wide, where when you get at the centre half back, to go direct and let the runners run to that.
Just to keep possession, I
think it's that balance, but when you, as I said, 4 goals down in a game, I mean,
you've got to get up there, don't you?
O'Donnell from Wanganeen.
I think they had their chance early in that first half.
Mercury. Time ticking away. Essendon possession football. They're home and hosed now. 12-11 to 8-13. The Saints had a moment or two.
It's become basketball now.
Cowthorpe.
It's not going to be a pretty win, but it's going to be a win.
Yeah, no one said you had to play it pretty. Remember the Bears do this against Geelong a couple of years ago, and in the end, actually got up from almost impossible position by a point.
50 against Lowe, then on O'Connor. So unfortunately for the Saints, it's just fallen apart now.
Well, one of the problems here is that there is a loose player for St Kilda playing up the ground. As soon as you see the first chip, I mean, the call should automatically come. Let's go and watch them man up just for this situation.
O'Connor also prepared to just waste a few more seconds.
Now it's right. Everyone's got a man now. I mean, as soon as the first kick comes, that's exactly what should happen. You realise what's going on.
There's the scoreline, 3.5 minutes left. Essendon lead by 22 points. Hurd. Now Anthony Darcy for St Kilda. His kick goes in towards the centre. Darryl Wakeland couldn't take it, neither could Tony Brown. Nathan Burke fierce. Is he a little too fierce? No. Brown over the top to Jones. Aussie's creative. Gets it to Harvey. Harvey forced to kick quickly. He's been shut out fairly successfully. Fletcher on Shane Wakeland, and it goes over for a boundary throw-in.
In all fairness, 5 or 6 kicks in this space of time is not a bad effort if you multiply that by the normal game.
You should be pretty happy with you. 20 to 25 possessions. Morgan at the back. Shane Wakeland. Tony Brown. Quick hand pass to Harvey. Harvey across that line, and it's been marked by Jones. Jones in towards full forward. A little too high, low. Well done, Elliott. Tried to tap it to his own advantage, then went past the football. Mercury, low off the ground. There's a goal. St Kilda have got another one. So it is a 16-point margin to Essendon with 2.5 minutes left. It's probably not enough time for St Kilda to get up.
No, you'd certainly think that. Once again, the ball went to the low direction, which was good, in the front of the goal square. Elliott was there to assist. That little tap-out was important. I mean, a lot of players will try and drag it back in. Just a little tap-out, keep the ball going, was terrific play.
9, 13, 12, 11, 2.5 minutes remaining. Centre square important. Well done, Daniels. Harvey, Burke, quick kick, could low mark. He's behind Berbakoff. Berbakoff didn't hold it. Smith, Everett fell over. Chance here. Young, back to Keogh. Goes back to Daniels, too slow. One chance they had. It was a big one too, and maybe it's now gone. Buick just gives to Hurd cleverly. Hurd laterally, but St Kilda should take it and do. Good mark at the second. He's been all right, Young. Centering. Centre half forward. Jones looking for the crumbs with Brown. And also Elliott, and it's a bounce.
That Keogh handball to a guy standing still, that's just, oh yeah, you take the responsibility. Oh, this is too hot for me. All you have to do was kick the footy. I mean, it's just a judgment thing. But I mean, giving it to a player standing flat-footed, right alongside you, is as much trouble as what he was.
Fletcher tried to clear the congestion, not successful. Kicked out by Morgan, out towards the wing. Now Darcy gets back, but not quickly enough. In went Lucas, fierce at the football, and able to carry it over for a boundary throw-in. St Kilda fans not happy, but I'm sure Essendon fans will breathe well, they don't have to breathe a sigh of relief. They'll win this game now. They are 16 points in front.
Robbo, 17,590. That's the official attendance.
And I think that's fantastic.
Here's Buick, who kicked the all-important goal in this term. Centering kick. Wakeland front. Is it down? No, hanging on. Free kick going to Essendon by the look of it. Against Shanahan to Alessio.
Purely academic.
3-2 to 3-6 since we've come out here tonight. So St Kilda have been able to take 4 points off, but Alessio with a chance to increase the margin to 22 points.
Gee, what an ordinary free kick that was.
I think it was before the camera just went on there. You see him let go of his back there. Just must have pinged on a bit. As I said, big.
First game since round 2 for Alessio. Short that it may be. Good kick. Close. He's got it. (13-11 to 9-13), and that might just about be it. So the Bombers will get the 4 points and improve a couple of positions tonight on the ladder.
In racing parlance, Bruce, you'd have to say, with 3 lengths in front with 100 metres to go, is always a good lead in sport, isn't it?
A mighty lead, and St Kilda had to make all the running. There's Kevin Sheedy, and they've tried to make the running, and it's forced an error or two under pressure. but they've had a couple of chances, haven't they?
Well, that big guy that was just in the picture a second ago had an opportunity late in the first half, and just down on his ball handling a little bit. Not much margin for error when the game that is to be played is only about 32 minutes in time. This is young Lappin, little kick, finds Peckett. Peckett from right half back, one bounce and then kicks towards half forward. Harvey from behind Calthorpe just moves it on very quickly. Young and Lowe is on the end of it. That's a mark. Umpire Dennis Rich right on the scene there. Stuart Lowe pointing to where maybe he grabbed the ball first. Now being called to play on, but that's just purely elementary. The kick will not score, and officially Essendon have won this round 10 clash by, what's the margin, 22 points, is it? 13-11-89, St Kilda 9-13-67.
So 4 goals to the Saints, to the Bombers, I should say. Some of them never. 4 goals and 3 to the Saints. Had a lot of scoring shots. Russell Morris is down on the ground. Russell.
Thanks, Bruce. I got Gavin Wangan, and Gavin, was it all worth it, mate? You only increased the lead by 2 points.
Yeah, it was a funny situation, wasn't it? A few sore spots for the match, but no, that's the AFL Ross Oakley planned it, so we had to get out here and win the 4 points.
What did you actually do to sort of get rid of those sore spots over the Sunday period?
Well, we obviously a bit of ice in that, but we couldn't do too much because it was only 2 days, so it was hard to come up, but luckily we got out here and got the 4 points.
When you started running around, did you start to sort of loosen up a lot more? Did you get a second win?
It was pretty tough, believe me.
What?
It was
You're
hard.
meant to be super fit.
Yeah, we meant to be, but 2 games in 1 week, so pretty hard.
How do you think you'll cope now playing on the Saturday? Oh, no, you're playing Sunday now, so is that long enough, do you think?
Well, you'd hope, we think so. It should be all right, but we won't be on the track this week. Just rest up and hopefully we'll come up.
We had an exceptional game. Congratulations. Well done, Gavin.
Yeah, thanks, Russ.
Yes, he did, Russell. Got a lot of kicks tonight, as he did on Saturday evening. And an amazing crowd here. The official 17,000. It seemed like there might have been a few more even at the end drifting in. And they've seen this very long match come to a close, a match that started on Saturday evening and concludes on Tuesday night at Waverley Park. But the Bombers, I think it would have been the greatest optimists who would have suggested from a St Kilda point of view that they could snare the 4 points, but there was a moment or two early in that first half when they got the first goal from Brown. They just needed the next one, Malcolm, and then when Fraser goal and then Everett goal, they again needed the next one.
In fact, the game on Saturday night was very similar, Bruce. They just couldn't quite bridge that gap each time the Bombers got away, and similar things happened tonight. And it's probably a fair reflection on how the sides are going at the moment.
Well, the situation here, as we see Danny Corcoran, the football manager's back, the score here, Essendon has beaten St Kilda. It was the Saints 9-13 and the Bombers 13-11.
Here's Michael at the foul line. A shot on Elo. Good! The Bulls win! They win!
There's an extraordinary treat in store for devotees of the NBA when In the Zone reviews the 1996 playoff series. For 2 hours of brilliant basketball, come Slam Duncan on Wednesday night at 7:30 with Sports Australia Channel 12.
Do you believe what you just saw? Welcome to the playoffs!
Absolutely magnificent. It doesn't get any better.
If you're the sort of fan who eats, breathes and sleeps rugby league, there's a good chance that Sports Australia might become your best mate in 1996. Just when you thought that coverage of the greatest game of all couldn't get any bigger or better, the Optus Cup comes along. Nowhere else will you find more detailed analysis of events on and off the field. Every weekend we'll bring you at least 2 matches, live and uninterrupted. There'll be other games replayed during the week, and you won't be left hungry for the latest league news either, because there's 3 football forums. On Friday night, Weekend League forecasts the round ahead. Our expert panel backs up on Monday to review 48 hours of furious football. And there's more midweek entertainment with Ray Hadley's Talking League. If you want rugby league, then you want Sports Australia in 1996.
It doesn't get any better.
season's on again. Remember those late Sunday nights, eyes propped open, but always missing the finish? Well, things have changed.
Wake up to Formula One Prime Time.
Fantastic!
Local hero Jacques Villeneuve goes for glory at the Canadian Grand Prix, Monday at 9:30 on Channel 12.
Welcome back, and the centenary season of the VFL-AFL has produced a first. A match that ended, according to my calculations, 72 hours and 35 minutes after it started. The final result, a 22-point win to Essendon, who kicked 4-2 to 3-6 tonight to beat St Kilda 13-11, 89 to 9-13, 67. So the Bombers record another win and just shore up their position in the top 8. North Melbourne and Carlton clear at the moment with 8 wins and 2 losses. Brisbane, who of course had to share the points with Geelong at the weekend. Geelong, Sydney and Essendon all level now with 6.5 wins, and percentages once again relevant for those teams, all of whom have had 1 draw. West Coast beginning to look menacing, have moved ahead of Adelaide. They're in 7th and 8th, and an 8-point break to Richmond, Collingwood, St Kilda and Fremantle, and not quite at the halfway mark of the season. Do we have a settled top 8? Perhaps Adelaide, the side that might be in some jeopardy after its rather poor performance against West Coast the other night. Well, let's talk about the game. Tremendous crowd, 17,590, which we've calculated as almost exactly half of the crowd that went to the State of Origin match at the MCG during the daytime, and it's a pretty cool night tonight in Melbourne. It's amazing what Melbourne football fans will do to go and see their teams play, even if it's only for about 24 minutes.
Well, you're right about that, Tim. I mean, given that half as many people go to Waverley's MCG, maybe it's the same crowd as the State of Origin if we wanted to be lateral in our thinking. Same
half. Let's have a look at some of the highlights of the second half, and this was just about the sealer, really, from Darren Buick, and isn't he dangerous when he curls those ones even under pressure towards the sticks? He split the middle with that, didn't he?
It's a fantastic finisher. I must say, when you, as an opposition coach, whenever he got the ball near the forward 50-metre area, you held your breath, because he does make goals out of half chances better than most.
His conversion rate's right back up again too. He had that after he kicked the 50 goals in that premiership year in 93. I think in 94 he really lost his sense of accuracy and kicked far too many points. But since then, until he got injured last year, and since he's come back this year, he's been terrific.
He wouldn't have been a regular forward pocket player. He would have played a lot more, half forward line in recent years?
Oh, mate, well, I think most of his career, I think he spent more forward of centre.
I think he was always been able to be tagged out of the game a little too easily as an on-baller, and probably since about 93 onwards, I think he's essentially played as a small forward.
Dakes, as our sharpshooter, and you kick plenty of those yourself, do you have a feel for when you are going to nail them? I mean, he looked so confident about that.
Well, he looked confident, and I think a lot of the confidence can tell because he virtually didn't look inboard. I mean, he looked straight at the goal. He knew where the goals were. So, and again, as you mentioned, just finishing off was fantastic. But I think a lot of the players, especially playing in a pocket, you tend to know where the goals are. You either have a look over your shoulder, have a quick look where your position, where the goals are. And you tend to get the feel of it as time goes on.
Well, that was a belated goal from Stuart Lowe. It was too little, too late, and he'd missed an opportunity earlier on in the second half, which might have given St Kilda some renewed heart, and must be disappointing for a team leader when he has those kickable set shots.
Well, he is. I mean, tonight, really, St Kilda's inaccuracy, 3 goals, 6. I mean, it was difficult conditions tonight. You could see it from the start, as you mentioned, in half-time. Players were slipping over, very easily tonight. So I think the ball must have been a little bit difficult to handle, and that inaccurate looked like it was hard to score, and I think the inaccuracy by St Kilda really destroyed any chance they had of picking up the lead.
I felt that with that miss, that it really seemed to take the wind out of their sails. They just they weren't getting the breaks, and then they started to give away a few silly free kicks as well.
I wonder, a player like Alessio, James Hird also coming back from injury, could this be something of a bonus for Essendon to give them a bit of a serious gallop, like something a bit more than a hard night on the track?
Well, Alessio's played how many reserves games, Rohan? 1 or 2?
A couple, I think.
Yeah, but I mean, the tempo to play. Senior tempo for maybe 30 minutes of football is certainly a good introduction to playing a full game.
And he's a far more important player to Essendon than a lot of people realise, I think, probably because he hasn't played that many games, but not only because he's at centre-half forward, but he just enables Hurd to scout off him a bit more and just rather than have to shoulder the whole burden, marking and crumbing himself. So a very important part of the Essendon machine.
How much harder would tonight have been than a really hard night on the training track? This is... I thought we were going to have a look at Alessio's goal, but in fact we're going to have a look at the Bombers perhaps doing a bit of track work as they went backwards and forwards, and some of their fans, I think, might have been a little frustrated at this
that
run.
was in play. That little bit of kick the kick was in play, wasn't it?
Yep. Yeah. There was another one that was even more astounding. I think we all assumed that the umpire had called the ball back. Yeah, it was a bit like Germany in the last 2 minutes of a World Cup final or something, isn't it?
Yeah, this player, Mercury, I thought he was terrific, and he's just so important to the Essendon team. Seeing that he's playing, where do they play him these days?
Just before we discuss that, I hope we don't see this become a regular thing. We saw Geelong do it against Carlton in that match at the MCG on Friday night. I said on radio the other day that we used to despise English cricketers for putting up the shutters, and we regarded it as un-Australian. I mean, it could make the last few minutes of matches very frustrating affairs, I reckon.
Unfootball-like, perhaps. I mean, it's only an extension of the keepings-off principle that a lot of sides now use as a game plan, isn't it?
Against the spirit of the game. We should take them up to the commission.
Well, put it this way, it certainly won't win them too many neutral fans, I think.
What about the fans booing James Hurd? I mean, the fans really but they're able to express the emotions of the football world who are saying James Hurd shouldn't have been playing.
Yeah, well, that's fair enough. I mean, I suppose...
He's a well-respected player. I mean, they got nothing against James Hurd.
Didn't quite look right as the bad guy, did he?
Well, put it this way, it'll probably be the only time you'll find the crowd booing James Hurd, I'd suggest.
So. Yeah.
Now, St Kilda were disappointed going into tonight's part of the contest, even more disappointed coming out of it, and they might have even more to be disappointed about it, although let's not sit in judgment here, but there were a couple of situations in which injuries were inflicted, and the most serious, it seemed, Joe Masiti shortly before half-time. Jason Daniels, the player involved. There was no 50 from Dennis Rich, which I suppose... would give St Kilda fans some confidence that nothing more will come of it, but it was a little late and it did do some damage.
Yes, well, certainly the umpires will look at that as they do with all the footage in the post-game review, and I think we do get a bit of a replay of it in a minute to have a good, that it's type of look that the umpires are going to get sometime maybe tonight.
Slow motion, I think, is dangerous.
Yeah.
But I don't think the tribunal should look at an event like that in slow motion because it distorts the time lag between the mark being taken.
Well, I was going to make that point.
And the contact.
When we saw it initially, proper speed, I thought, yeah, okay, it's a bit late. I didn't think it was too bad. When I saw it in slow motion, I thought, oh, gee. So, I agree with you on that.
But I made the point to you when it happened that Ross Oakley said a couple of years ago in defending trial by video and underlining that the AFL was going to persist with it, that the one thing he was really concerned about was the player taking a mark, eyes on the ball, terribly vulnerable, being whacked in the head, and that was such a situation.
Gridich is up tomorrow night for the McKernan incident. One would think that's a fairly similar one. So,
although trial by video seems to have taken up as much time with more technical charges recently, doesn't it?
You know, that's what's gone wrong.
Yeah, I think it's gone off the point. Really.
Spoiling. I mean, you don't spoil with a round arm. I mean, so it didn't look right from that instance. I mean, a normal spoil is virtually with an arm fully extended, not a round arm, so it doesn't look good.
The other thing we've got to consider too, I suppose, is if there is a video charge out of this, I mean, how quickly do they have to hear it, given that St Kilda's playing again in, another 4 days? It's a pretty funny old week for St Kilda, isn't it? They've got to front up against Richmond now.
I'll tell you how physically taxing, I think you were starting to mention that before, just how physically taxing that 30 minutes of football would be. I mean, it's not probably long enough to build up, much lactic acid in the muscles and all that kind of stuff, but you're still getting knocked around a little. I doubt, though, that it would have that much more harm or physically demanding than a normal midweek training session. I think you'd have to say that.
Well, for 20 minutes, I don't think. I mean, you're playing a quarter, so I don't think it's going to do too much harm to the players. I mean, I seem to think at different times that it's over-exaggerated because we've got to take the game into consideration, the game that they've played, and there's certainly games that are a lot harder than...
But having said that physically, what about the mental part of it? Because you have to build up and get ready for the contest again. I think, equally as important as how much the body suffers from a game, and it's that extra build-up, the extra emotional up and down that has to be
And there's the aftermatch and the trip to the tunnel in the next few hours, I suppose. I mean, Essendon have had a win, let's face it. We'll just have a look at how they sealed it, and Steve Alessio was the player who did kick the goal that put it beyond any doubt at all, and he can kick them from a long way out. Not that he was tested for distance so much there, but handy kick to the sticks, Rohan.
Yeah, early on in his career he was a bit sus actually. He's for distance and accuracy, and I think particularly last year. I mean, his coming of age really happened last year, didn't it? He was in the state squad pretty early in the season and lacerated a kidney, and took him a while to get over that, but same thing's happened this year. He's been out for a fair while, but when he actually does string a full season together, I think people will work out just what a valuable player he is.
Just giving you the final score again, it's Essendon by 22 points, 13-11-89 to St Kilda 9-13-67. Essendon tonight 4-2 to St Kilda's 3-6. The Saints kicked the first goal to edge to within striking distance, but weren't able to go on. And the Bombers are playing reasonably confident football, but there still is that fiddly side to them.
Yeah, well, they're not in my top three. I mean, I've sort of said for a few weeks that North Melbourne, Carlton, maybe Geelong are the top three, in my opinion. Maybe the Eagles can get back into that group. I'm still to be convinced that Essendon can.
Why, having won in 93, with a lot of young players, haven't they been able to reproduce the sort of form that's had them up in the top couple?
Well, I think Essendon, you've got to remember, had a fantastic 8 or 10 weeks at the end of 1993. They were very good the last 6 weeks, very good in the finals, and they won that year. But early 93 and 94, 95, they've sort of been, a good team, but not one of the top 2 or 3 necessarily. So I think they just had a fantastic couple of months.
Now we're going to both press conferences live. Here's Kevin Sheedy after the Bombers' 22-point win facing the media.
3 quarters, if you have had the win for 2 of the quarters of the 3 in the match we just played on Saturday, that makes it awkward, doesn't it? That's a blowing go out here at Waverley. We had it in the first quarter and the third quarter with 4 or 5 goals up. You say, well, the team in front of 3 quarters on, that'd be wrong, wouldn't it? That'd be very difficult. Maybe the right answer was for this match, and it may be a different answer for every different match. I don't know. That might be another way.
The blokes who played both nights...
Or cancel a round. That's another way.
The blokes who played both nights be on the 8 ball for next round or not?
I don't think so. It's a pretty hard... Actually, we couldn't manufacture that sort of training. I mean, it is serious. I mean, if you couldn't... they won't have to train really between now and Sunday, maybe. It's gold, maybe. But people are always trying to relate it. That's... When you try to relate it to a lot of other coaches or trainers in other sports, you're trying to work out what they do. The only thing is we have the AFL draw to put up. That's our problem. And most of the others don't.
Does everyone pull up okay?
I'd say Joe's a bit, those are at the moment. But we play Sunday, which is pretty handy for us.
You doubtful this time?
I really don't know. I have not even seen him yet. They give me an opportunity to put Lucas and Blomfield on. I'm quite happy with that. And that makes him the 1,000th player for the Essendon Footy Club. That's a pretty good little boy from Tuggerah and all. Canberra wins something at last.
Well, that was short and sweet.
Was. I think actually the press conference went, it was equivalent shortness of the match.
Maybe
press
so.
conferences are normally longer than that, Rohan.
They are, but sometimes not all that enlightening, actually. I've gone back to the press box with tape recorder in hand and played a half-hour Kevin Sheedy press conference back, and we've all ended up giving each other the same quizzical looks, so he's different.
He was making the point rightly, though, as I think you did early on tonight, Lee, that depending upon the circumstances of a match interrupted, and hopefully it won't happen again for a while, that you have to consider each case on its merits. He raised the matter too, which we didn't earlier, that I think Stan Alves did, that the round possibly be cancelled. Although it'd be a grave injustice, say, to Carlton and Richmond, who slugged it out on Saturday. What would be made of Ilya Grigic's report in the match on Friday night? Will it become null and void if the round was cancelled?
I think I disagree with the taking each match on its merits. I think they have, if a game can't be finished, there has to be a set of rules to have a look at that situation. It's too much pressure on the Commission to look at every situation as if it's different.
Well, there won't be too many of them, though, will there?
One would hope not, wouldn't they? Yeah.
I mean, the bottom line had to be disadvantaging as few people or clubs as possible, and I think the solution they came up with did that.
We'll just pause for a moment. We'll be back, and there's a lot more to talk about. We'll be going to Stan Alves' press conference after St Kilda's 22-point loss, and that could be a feisty affair. There is the final score. Essendon 13-11-89, St Kilda 9-13-67. The goals shared around for the Bombers, 2 each to Mercury, Danaher. He wasn't playing, was he? Well, he was on Saturday night. Buick and Wanganeen. And Stuart Lowe 3 for St Kilda. I think that takes him to 48 for the season, but he's languishing a little now behind his former teammate Tony Lockett, who stormed away with a couple of big hauls in recent weeks. Back shortly with more football feedback.
It's been a record-breaking season for the Chicago Bulls. They've swept all before them in majestic style, and now they can top off a memorable campaign by taking out the NBA Finals Series. The experts say they're unbeatable, but tell that to Seattle with their big guns Kemp and Payton ready to rock. Follow Luke Longley's bid to become the first Aussie ever to claim a championship ring when Game 4 fires up Thursday at 11, live on ESPN Channel 11.
The Hitman, Thomas Hearns, Smokin' Joe Frazier, Marvelous Marvin Hagler, Ken Norton, The Hands of Stone, Roberto Duran, Leon Spinks, Sugar Ray Leonard, and the greatest of them all, Muhammad Ali. They came, they saw, they conquered.
First to the Whitten Oval. A great grab from Tony Lockett.
So it's a one-on-one duel. Plugger Lockett versus Malloy. And Plugger over the top.
A big fly from a little man, Chris Johnson.
He'll land it in the square. Oh, marked by Johnson.
To Waverley, and a one-hander from Joe Masiti.
Joe Masiti in underneath it with a great mark, great one-hander.
A snap from Darren Buick.
Buick controls it, gets hold of it again. Darren Buick steps off the goal. Great kick. First goal to Buick for the evening.
And Lowe, a great one-hander.
Lowe wants to hold off, and that is a sensational mark. You're supposed to take those.
Pace and chase from Shorty Denham.
Player. Now he's put himself into a pocket because it's a great tackle from behind from Denham.
To Friday night. Carey over the top.
It'll land on centre wing. Member side, terrific leap and mark on his chest.
And Anderson on Jose.
Melbourne captain. Ramiro, down he goes. Anderson picked him off.
To Saturday, Wayne Campbell flies.
Yes, he will. Up to half forward. Campbell, a flyer.
Matty Richardson with one hand.
Kicks from 50 metres in towards Richardson. He's got it again.
To Gadinia Park, Gary shows the value of local knowledge.
Shoots and it's coming back. Yes, he's got it.
Derek Hall does it lying down.
Half forward, up in front. There's Lynch. Oh, that's a mark.
And not to be outdone.
The 50 they could do with a goal. Hasn't got the carry. One man left standing. Ablett slapped away by Campion. Or did he kick it? Ablett may have kicked it. Yes. Magnificent goal. Something out of nothing.
The comeback continued. Gary to Shaw.
To kick a goal. Won't kick but that one. A mark.
Maybe 50.
Shaw, 25 metres out from goal, kicks it, puts it through. Geelong on fire.
to Subiaco. Good anticipation, Darren Kepler.
Lending assistance. Kepler gets it. He's second. Gets it.
And it wasn't only the lights at Waverley Park that went out. Rashuto rocks Kemp.
Down he goes from Rashuto. Without feeling pretty sure when he hits you.
Well, there's a nice note to return on. Lee Matthews, the good old hip and shoulder. We might just talk about that after I tell anyone who's just joined us that Essendon has finally put St Kilda away by 22 points, 13-11-89 to 9-13-67. Your mouth would have watered, wouldn't it, when you saw Mark Rashuto unload Dean Kemp like that?
No. What are you looking at me like that for? But I know you're going to complain about it, Tim. I knew it. Now, come on, you tell me what you think of that.
Well, you like a good hip and shoulder, though, don't you?
Yeah, okay, but what do you think?
Did he get him in the head?
He did.
Too high.
His shoulder made contact with his head, yeah. But
right.
Come on, let's continue on.
So should it have been a free kick to Kemp?
On the strict interpretation of the rules that if a player gets a high contact, he gets a free kick. On that basis, possibly he should have.
Well, should we be strict about the interpretations of the laws of the game?
Well, I think you're not going to argue it's reportable, are you?
I think there is a case. There is a case.
Well, I can wear a free kick, but I just don't think in any shape or form that's reportable.
Let me take you to the definition of the law relating to unduly rough play.
How long's that definition been in existence?
Forever, I suppose.
100 years.
A player or official who commits the following offence may be reported: engages in unduly rough play by committing a breach of the laws. Well, it was a high tackle. You've agreed it was a breach of the laws against an opponent in a deliberate or violent manner.
Well, you can't bump in a non-violent manner.
It was certainly violent.
Yeah, but you can't bump in a non-violent manner. And there's violent contact in our game that's within the rules. We know that. Now, the fact that
but not to the head.
Well, his shoulder made high contact. And as I say, if the umpire wanted to award a free kick for a high contact, I think everyone could accept that. But in no shape or form is that hip and shoulder bump reportable when the ball is in fact in Dean Kemp's hand.
But isn't the spirit of the law relating to head contact specifically to protect the head? The head is inviolable. You're not allowed to tackle the head, and you're certainly not allowed to tackle it in a violent manner. If you do, you run the risk of being reported. I think that's perfectly logical.
Well, yes, I suppose if you wanted to be, specific in the wording, but
pedantic?
I think the morality, pedantic's probably a good word for it. I'm having trouble with the words, and you're very good at them tonight. But I think in the spirit of the game, the hip and shoulder bump, sometimes it's going to be high contact. Now, if the umpire free kicks it, fine. But providing the ball's there, it's in the act of play, it's part of our game.
Especially when you consider the sizes, Rashuto and Kemp, there's a big size difference, and Rashuto, watching the screen, didn't leave the ground. So, Kemp was there, he ran into him.
But hasn't Neil Busy taken the line that players have to be accountable for the damage that they might do if, in fact, their actions take them into the area where they're breaching the laws of the game? So you talked about the swing that Daniels had perhaps at the ball earlier with a round arm. I mean, Busy has tended to take the view that if you miss and you hit a bloke in the head and you hurt him, well, you're responsible for your action.
That's a lot different, I think. I mean, Rashuto there's made every possible attempt to keep the elbow down, which the tribunal frowns on, and I thought he got in.
But that's irrelevant when it comes to contact with the head. I just believe this is all misunderstood. The laws of the game are misunderstood.
Given that your interpretation of it all, what should Rashuto have done?
He had to make sure that he avoided contact with the head if he was going to apply a legal tackle.
Moving,
and he didn't.
Kemp was moving.
So the tackler has to be even more careful.
But they're both moving, so I mean it's very hard for a guy to hit such a precise target when there's two forces moving.
So do we forgive fierce tackles to the head that knock people unconscious on the grounds that he was moving, and so therefore he was a difficult target?
Well, an example I refer to, one of the most celebrated incidents of that nature in footy history, the Dermot Brereton and Paul Vanderhaar thing in the '89 second semi-final. Now, there's no way Paul Vanderhaar wasn't taken high because he had his head down when Brereton met him, but I think that by the vast majority of football people agreed that was okay because it was a hip and shoulder. I think you've got to allow a bit of latitude, and I think by far the bulk of footy people would hate to see that removed from the game. And when I saw that on Sunday, I just thought it was a great.
Nobody wanted to see people hit violently in the head.
Things have changed, though. Things have changed. We would
never take that out of the game.
Well, 8 years ago, no, we don't. 8 years ago, Rashuto, we wouldn't be talking about this 8 years ago. Yet it has become an issue over the last probably 3 or 4 years of our football.
I'll ring the bell because we're about to go to Stan Alves after St Kilda's 22-point loss to Essendon.
The last few weeks is that it really has been a case of lost opportunities. Because I just felt that our performance at both ends of the ground was being very, very wasteful up there. And I felt that we haven't been as strong in really wanting to wisely defend at the other end. And the number of times where, which has been frustrating I suppose to all of us, has been the fact that we get the ball so often into that forward line and we have opportunities to do something about it, and we waste that, and it goes up the other end, and all of a sudden so much of your work is brought undone that it becomes deflating to everybody. And I just felt that my concern is that we are repeating the same mistakes week in, week out, and that's been a concern. I can understand at this level of football that certainly we can make mistakes, but at this professional level, what we pride ourselves on, we shouldn't be doing it week in, week out.
Stan, how hard was it to come back for 3 days later to finish this game and play the remaining 24 minutes?
Look, it wasn't really hard at all in terms of the fact that the opposition were under the same scenario. And to be quite honest, most of the stuff that we've looked at saying over the last few days has been trying to give us an edge. We acknowledge that when the decision was made to go on and play the game, that we were starting behind the 8 ball, and there was 20 points gap that we had to make up, and it was going to be difficult, and we were looking for every edge we could. But I can tell you right from the outset that the players were very committed. And the leaders came to me even before it was announced that the game was going to be on, and said they definitely wanted to play if it did, and they put their hand up, and the decision was made that we might try and make a bit of the fact that perhaps we weren't really keen on the game, but we were red hot tonight.
Do you think that was translated in their performance? I mean, you were obviously pretty upset about what you saw out there tonight, but do you think it came through enough in the stuff that you saw pre-game? Do you think it was translated out there tonight?
I think that if we had taken our opportunities, we could have been a lot closer. But I thought that we just, our lack of use of the ball and just overuse of handball. I mean, I just don't know why, when we had the football, and I mentioned to a few of them where we were running towards goals, that their first thought to pick up was the handball, the ball, rather than want to kick a goal. And then all of a sudden they realised there's nobody to handball. Oh gosh, I better have a kick for goal. By that time they're on their wrong foot and they kick in and we miss one. I mean, it's those sort of things that probably the thing that concerned me. I mean, I thought our midfield work and the attack of Burke, Keogh and blokes like that on the footy was sensational. I mean, they showed just what we're all about. But I thought that there was a number of us that again were soft in our approach to the game, and that is when we've got the footy really making it work, and down the other end, if it's a line ball, that we're just going to do anything in our power not to let the opposition have an easy touch tonight. And I thought a few of us were really a bit ordinary tonight.
Is that just bad decision making by individuals at the time?
Yeah, it's bad decision making, but we don't know on what basis they're making that decision, because it's not what we talk about, it's not what we train, it's not what we set ourselves to do. And all of a sudden in a situation like that, for somebody to do that, it doesn't only confuse us in the coaching box, but it confuses the rest of the blokes out there as to why they're doing it.
Sheeds maintained that both sides, he felt, still should have got 4 points out of the game. Are you of a similar opinion?
Oh, look, I think I've said all about that. I mean, I made my comments known about that, but the commission runs the game. Once that decision has been made, I mean, we made a bit of a song and dance, but we'd accepted the decision, and we'd go out and do that. I mean, that's going back in the past. We have no control of it. I'm more concerned tonight that we had a chance in this game to pick up 4 points, but we didn't take our opportunities, and we didn't do the things we did. And congratulations to Essendon. Times where I thought we looked like we're getting back in the game, I thought they showed some pretty good composure and did some things that worked their way back in, and they are a classy side, and I give them credit for that. But at the end of the day, I don't think this game there were 8 points up for grabs. I think there was only 4, and so the decision was made. That's the finish of it.
What was your real thinking on the changing the lineup? Did you want to change them?
I said what I said about that, but I just say again, we're talking about the game, and once that decision was made by the AFL in consultation, with our president and stuff like that, that decision was made. I mean, that's history; it's gone. And tonight, we knew what ball game we're in. We played the same rules as Essendon, and we just went on that basis. And at the end of the day, I don't think that has an effect on the game. I think that we still had 21 players who we had faith in before the start of the night, but unfortunately not enough of them delivered on the night.
But if the situation like this happens again...
Yeah, but if my uncle was my auntie, I mean, there you go. I mean, that's history.
How'd the guys play?
Oh, probably just got sore ears. I know my tonsils are struggling.
Stan, how important was this game to your season?
Well, Tim, I just said to the boys in there that if you go on the way things are panning out, it's made it very difficult because with 12 rounds to go, and one could probably argue that you're going to need around about 13 to make the 8, we can only afford to drop another 3. We've got to win 9 out of the next 12. And my concern probably was not that just that we win tonight, was the fact that I didn't like what I saw and I haven't liked what I've seen for the last few weeks. We're not playing the sort of football that we played up until the Collingwood game. And for some reason we've gone away from the things that we were doing well then. And tonight I just felt that even if they disliked me intensely tonight, if the things I said were just enough to arc them up and get them back on track, well, it was something we need to do because it's slipping away awfully fast.
Do you have any theory why they've stopped doing what you want them to do?
No, look, we've probably what you heard me do tonight is the first time I've really spoken like that, because up until now we've gone through a process of analysing and talking, and we've hit on what we think. But as I just said, we're not translating the theory into practice, and that's what we've got to do. You know the answer, but I'm happy to pay you for it. No, look, it's one of those things where if you just have a look at us, we're probably at this point of time we're collectively not playing anywhere near our best, and we've got a number of theories and we're talking through and we've got to work through. Even if we'd lost tonight, we were probably hoping, certainly we wanted to win, but we were hoping that we might have seen things that may have turned that around. But I guess we were disappointed that we didn't see what we wanted to see.
Has it become a bit predictable? I mean, Stewie started the season so well, and it looks like they just want to go to him all the time now. So I'd seem to be reading that a bit better.
No, I think our problem is that we've become unpredictable. I'm talking all over the ground, that we're just not doing what we've set ourselves as our game plan. The blokes are just going from doing things that you see, everybody might perceive that we're supposed to go to Stewie all the time, but that's not our game plan. But in doing that, you've got to have other people presenting themselves as options too.
Very good.
Thank you.
Tough 72 hours for Stan Alves and the Saints, and after trailing by 20 points when it all ended on Saturday night, they went down by 22. Essendon 13-11-89, St Kilda 9-13-67. 2 goals each to Mercury, Danaher, Buick and Wanganeen for the Bombers. 3 to Stuart Lowe for St Kilda. And for the record tonight, Essendon kicked 4-2. St Kilda kicked 3 goals, 6, very little in it, but enough for the Bombers to more than maintain their lead. The situation in the 8 is that West Coast and Adelaide in 7th and 8th positions have 6 wins and 4 defeats from their 10 matches, and St Kilda is in a group outside the 8, 4-6. So they're 2 games and some percentage behind West Coast and Adelaide, both pretty healthily placed. On that count, they have a lot of work to do, and West Coast and Adelaide certainly look as though they're capable of winning a dozen games or so for the season. So one of Richmond, Collingwood, St Kilda or Fremantle would have to come home with something of a rush to make it. We're going to go back and look at the earlier parts of what has been an extraordinary round when we come back after this break.
Tonight, a Sports Australia exclusive with all the first test highlights.
And he's gone out, got in the covers.
2 of the traditional giants of world cricket, England and India, battle it out on the fields where the game began.
In the air and gone.
battle of tactics between Atherton and Azruddin, the playing bats of Tendulkar and Thorpe, the England-India first test highlights, tonight at 12 o'clock on Sports Australia.
Welcome back. In the last half hour of this week's program, a chance to look back on some of the more ordinary events of what has been a pretty remarkable round 10. We had a look at Mark Rasciuto and Dean Kemp. I don't think we'll reopen that can of worms. I heard a bell ringing off in the background when Stan Alves came up for his press conference. But the other match on Sunday between Fremantle and Hawthorn saw the Hawks perhaps even having Lee Matthews just reflecting with a touch of pride, because it was a good old Hawthorn response to some lean times.
Yeah, I didn't see a lot of the game, but one thing I think is important, that when Ken Judge coached East Fremantle and Jared Neesham coached Claremont, it was always felt that East Fremantle were able to beat Claremont, and Claremont were essentially the top team. And I think if there's a coach who knows how to beat the game style that Jared Neesham coaches, I think Ken Judge probably fits that category.
David Parkin gave him a lot of credit, didn't he, when Carlton beat Fremantle at Subiaco by nearly 10 goals last year.
Yeah, but they are inconsistent, Fremantle. You really never know what they're going to do. I mean, their last month it's been up and down like a yo-yo. Good wins and really bad losses.
Got the feeling too their feet definitely aren't webbed. I think somebody said that it was the first time they'd played in rain in their time in the competition. I think Neesham might have said it at his press conference afterwards, which is quite remarkable. They've been in for a season and a half now, but apparently wherever they've gone, even to Melbourne, it hasn't rained, which is pretty amazing in itself. And they were found out when things became a bit slippery.
Well, you tend to think that they handle the ball a lot, which obviously isn't suited if the ball is a little bit slippery.
And I think the weather too, the climate. I mean, especially they get the dry ground, year in, year out virtually. I mean, they're pretty good weather to continually practice their skills. So. You'd expect them really to be good.
It does make you wonder, though, just on the wet weather, whether they have a fallback game plan. I mean, sure, they haven't played in the wet up till now, but obviously I think that high possession rate really probably proved to be a bit of their undoing.
Yeah, well, that's interesting, that fallback game plan, because there's no such thing, Rohan, I'd like to tell you, because the amazing thing is, I mean, when the ball is wet and you shouldn't handle as much, players are so drilled to look for the running play, to give the ball to the overlapping teammate, they do it anyway. I mean, it's very hard to go away from your basic natural team plan for one game or one quarter or certain conditions as much. I mean, maybe the smarter players can work it out a bit quicker, but it's amazing how players will still try to use a wet ball as if it's dry.
Isn't it fair to say, though, that that's probably a far more hazardous game plan that the Dockers play than, say, a Carlton would in conditions like that?
Well, it's funny, certain sides, I mean, Carlton are a good wet weather side, I always think. Geelong are a good wet weather side. And they like to use the ball precisely to each other. There's certainly some sides in the competition that seem to handle a wet ball and wet conditions better than others.
Let's have a look at a sample of the way in which Hawthorn confronted the Dockers, and their tackling was fierce, determined, and they closed the game up at all costs to prevent the Dockers breaking away. Look at that.
Gang tackle, got a gang tackle. We spoke about that before. One of the things I suspect that Hawthorn were trying to do is, if the ball is in the pack, keep it in there. Don't, because the Fremantle like to keep the ball running and use their speed, and just maybe the two Hawthorn players basically making sure the ball stayed in and didn't slip out from underneath the Fremantle player is part of what they plan to do.
Have a look at a couple of the other visually interesting aspects of the round, and down at Cardinia Park, old Roger Merritt, he hasn't been playing for 300 games not to learn a trick or two. When he started to line up this shot, the angle was probably worse than 45 degrees, and by the time he kicked it...
And David Levins, I heard talking recently about having the boundary umpires involved in the decision-making process. I wonder if a situation like that is an argument for the goal umpire being involved, because the goal umpire would have seen him deviate off the line, no question about it.
Well, there are 3 umpires out there now, isn't it? Couldn't a second one come down and monitor those things? If the goal... I think the umpire officiating was well away to the left and out of shot.
It's pretty obvious the first 3 or 4 steps were the little crab steps sideways. I mean, as soon as that happens, the umpires should be... He's obviously going off his line, even though we're directly behind him. It's easier for us to see it, of course, but the umpires still should be able to notice the sideways steps.
I often think, watching players line them up, that there is a bit of that cribbing goes on regularly, and it tends to go unnoticed. When you were sitting in the box, would you get jumpy about that if you felt it wasn't favouring it?
Sometimes umpires will pick a guy, he only looks sideways and they'll make him play on, so...
a lot of guys on the mark do it too. A lot of guys on the mark will actually push forward, wait till the umpire turns around, and that's why a lot of players that take a mark or get a free kick, they virtually stand on the spot and actually point to the spot where their direct opponent has to sort of stand, so these players will crib.
Scott Cummings tried a bit of this too when Essendon were playing in a match earlier in the season up in Sydney, but a little less successfully than Big Rog, and Dakes, you might be able to explain what went wrong.
I don't know. I think what he tried to do was he virtually kept the line. He actually walked away from the line. As you can see, his left feet coming out to the left, but then didn't straighten up. He actually kicked while he was still moving to the left. So, again, no control whatsoever. Balance is just so important. What I tend to find is, in an instance like that, I think you try and get 1 or 2 steps inside the closest goalpost. So with Cummings or even Roger Merritt, kicking to the right-hand goalpost, just get on the inside of it, and then you've got your right leg on the inside, and all you do is just virtually just angle it a bit to the left.
Could you kick off the outside of your right foot? I mean, some players can actually do that. Very few, I must say, but you used to do that a bit.
Yeah.
Mick McGuire was a player who do that.
It's a boomerang.
So it's a soccer thing, isn't it, Doug? So, I mean, bending, curving the ball with the outside of the ball.
Not really. I just think it's just a skill. I mean, people just tend to think that football is a drop punt or a torpedo, but it's a lot more than that. I mean, we play with an oblong ball. Unfortunately, a lot of times we don't get the opportunity to run straight at goal. And that's where you tend to get players sort of trying to come back into play, balance up, and getting caught and losing the ball. And it's a lot of the, not so much better players, but more skillful players, are like a Buick, they're able to kick across their body or with the outside of their foot to kick a goal. You only need balance, really.
It's more fun than a drop punt too, isn't it?
It is, especially when they work.
Another shot for goal that produced an interesting outcome came on Friday night, Footscray's match against North Melbourne, and Ilya Grigic having a shot, set shot, not too far out. Horror one for the goal umpire. They must be nightmares, even when they happen during the day. Over the post and a very high ball. Now, I wonder why the conference here.
Yes, that is interesting. I mean, the goal umpire, as we saw, was in perfect position to look up the post, see the ball coming. I mean, he really, maybe the field umpires always give them an indication of what they thought, whether it was a goal or behind, and maybe they disagreed, so the goal umpire came out, or maybe he didn't hear the all clear, I'm not sure. But,
look, we have made an inquiry about this one, and the information we have received from David Levins is to the effect that Darren Goldspink had given it the 2 hands in calling all clear, which is a signal to the goal umpire that he believes it was a goal. But the goal umpire, from his excellent vantage point, as you said, Lee, felt that it was a behind, and so he felt he should come out and confer with the field umpire, although I think it is solely the goal umpire's call.
Quite often you'll see the field umpire give a motion and it disagrees with the goal umpire, and the goal umpire just signals a goal. They don't come out and check with the field umpire, so I'm not quite sure why he actually bothered to come out and check, because it's the sole decision of the goal umpire whether it's a goal or behind. Nothing to do with the field umpire. All the field umpire does is give the all clear.
Well, there have been a couple of incidents this year where goal umpires have been criticised for not conferring with field umpires. There was one, now which one was it? There was a controversy when the goal umpire made a mistake. It might have been the Williams one between Carlton and West Coast, and the following week, first shot for goal of the match between Collingwood and West Coast, clipped the post. The goal umpire called it a goal, but there was a subsequent conference between the goal and the field umpire.
Adelaide game.
That's right.
Yes.
And we got the rightful decision in the end. So I suppose the umpires have been told, be prepared to be consultative.
Yeah.
Don't feel as though you have to do it all on your own.
Well, the second umpire there, Jason Watts, seemed to have it right as well. He started clapping as the ball got a little bit closer. He stopped clapping, so he had a fair idea that he'd missed.
We'll push on, and Scott Chisholm, playing for Fremantle, is finding his second season a bit tougher than his first 13 Brownlow votes in an interrupted season last year. Some even felt that given a clear run at it this year, he might be a chance, but in the wars against Hawthorn, that was a free kick for a push, well, obviously more than 5 metres away from the ball, and I suppose if he pushed a player...
I think, Tim, one must say, we saw that quarter against Collingwood when he was free kicked a couple of times, maybe 5 or 6 weeks ago, but I suppose to use the term, I think he's been nominated a player who's psychologically fragile. And maybe that kind of pressure, he might do something a bit silly.
If there was a fair decision, the first one, I think he's unlucky here. I mean, he made a great tackle. It looked to me as though Graham got an arm on his shoulder, and then Chisholm came back with a bit of a push. Now, have a look at this. One over the shoulder from Graham.
I've got a feeling it might have been what happened just after that. The ball went out of the camera shot.
Just on that point about Chisholm, Lee, I mean, does the word spread around the grapevine? Like Collingwood seemed to psych him out, so the next 3 clubs they played would have been on for that.
I mean, players, don't they, Dakes? I mean, you've been on the field much more recently than I. But the psychological pressure. I mean, players get to know which players are vulnerable to intimidation. I mean, it can only be bluff now because the physical intimidation really has been regulated and umpired out of the game, but there's still psychological intimidation.
Especially with the Chisholm incident. Aside from that Chisholm incident, players do know. I mean, I couldn't agree with you more. I mean, you're always looking for that little advantage.
I think we saw in the Melbourne-Collingwood game yesterday, actually, that obviously the Melbourne team had isolated a couple of Collingwood players, and there was a lot of, as players ran past each other, they were bumping into each other. It was like 10-pin bowling out there yesterday. They were just players bumping off each other to try and, put that pressure on.
What did you make of that incident in which Scott Crowe pushed Farmer from behind after he ran into an open goal? And for what about the 4th time this year that I'm aware of, a player was given a second shot, kicked a second goal without a centre bounce.
Well, let's reiterate the rule. The rule is if the umpire, the first goal was scored, if the umpire had called all clear and then a player's infringed, then he can get a second kick. Now, quite obviously, unless that was the quickest all clear in the history of football, the umpire chose to say, OK, it's maybe in the spirit of the game he should have got a second free kick, but in the rules of the game, I've never seen that before.
Can't have that. I mean, there's got to be 100 of them in an AFL season. I mean, there's nothing in there.
Well, could you imagine a free kick like that in tonight's game? Yeah. I mean, with everything at stake, I mean, it's just ridiculous.
It really does worry me, Tim, that we've seen 4 of them this year. I mean, this one is probably softer than the other 3. The other 3 you could at least argue a case for, but I don't think any of us have seen any more than 1 in a decade. All of a sudden we've seen 4 in half a season.
And yet there's nothing the umpire can do if an infringement, other than that, if an infringement is committed after the goal. And that was a clear push in the back after the ball had been kicked.
I'm not positive whether that shouldn't be in the rules, because you do know that once a player's kicked the goal, you can virtually do anything to him, and as long as it's almost at the point, rather than as long as it's not reportable, that is, and they can't do anything. And the umpire chose to make up the law in a way, but I'm not so sure that it shouldn't be in the rules, but it's not.
It's a bit unfair on Crow, though, isn't it? When he's seen 100 players do the same thing and not go for it, he's done it and he goes.
What would you do as a player, though, in the next instance? I mean, if you made it a rule, what do you do next time you're charging a player or trying to tackle a player and he's ready to have a shot for goal?
But one had to say, I mean, the ball was kicked. I mean, it wasn't a desperate lunge to stop him kicking the goal. It was a desperate lunge to give him a shove after he kicked the goal. I think that's pretty obvious.
Well, they'd normally play the advantage anyway, so wouldn't they?
But there's no advantage. The ball's gone through.
That's
so
right.
There's nothing. It's the only penalty.
But that's the advantage to the team, though. They've kicked the goal.
But the upshot is, it's not in the rules of the game, and the umpire shouldn't be able to do that.
What about a free kick out of the centre to the team that scored the goal? The ball goes back.
Well, even that they're not allowed to do
a free
because
kick.
it's in the one instance of play.
But would that be a more appropriate penalty than, in that case, a certain goal?
If we're going to change the rules to something, yeah.
Let's just have a look at another contentious one, and again involving a free kick near goal. And this at a crucial time for West Coast on Sunday night, as Adelaide had come back after a bad start in the second quarter, and Metropolis was awarded a free kick and goal. I think Robert Shaw on Talking Footy last night was a bit curious about that, and I can understand why.
Mystifying.
Maybe shepherding off the ball, maybe.
But, I mean, this is our bugbear all the time, isn't it? Free kicks that are paid or not paid within scoring distance of goal are much more critical than free kicks played up on the centre wing. And, OK, umpires can't differentiate between the two, but they do help determine the result of some games.
Did you see anything there that looked as though it might be free kickable? I mean, it was...
Well, I didn't, but... I mean, the umpire was in the best position, I must say, but I couldn't really see.
Have a look again. I mean, there's... Now, if you're going to pay one for that, you're going to be paying 100 free kicks a night. And that's the worst thing, isn't it? The inconsistency.
Where was the umpire? This is the umpire here.
He said he was being held. Well, I don't know where he's being held.
6 of one, half dozen the other, as far as I was concerned.
The other critical point of this happened right at the end of the quarter, and it's amazing the psychological lift it gives you if you kick a goal virtually on the siren of a quarter. You know, you can sort of, the morale's lifted for a few minutes or the half-time break, and it's amazing how often teams will finish with a goal, will really start the next quarter very well.
Could it have made a difference? Because the Crows were pretty ordinary after half-time, weren't they?
Well, I think little things make more of a difference than you... I mean, all right, the Eagles went on and won by 10 goals or something. They were fantastic, but the games are turned. That Farmer incident that we saw, Melbourne went from 3 goals in front. OK, they were going to be 4. They went to 5. All of a sudden, the gaps, become quite large. So those incidents that get a goal at a certain stage of the game can help determine the game, even if the eventual winning margin is substantial.
Does that underestimate, though, the preparation for matches? I've heard coaches say games are won during the week, not so much on the day.
I don't believe that. I mean, I partly believe that, obviously, but no, things happen on the day. I've got no doubt about that. If you go out and you're well prepared and you get a 50-50 free kick and you get the first goal on the board, as opposed to the opposition doing it, makes enormous difference to the whole psychology of the game.
Well, they're not training these days anyway. I mean, that has really lessened in football. That is a fact these days, that they're not training as hard. So
you envious, Stokes?
I am envious. Play till you're 40. But the thing is that I agree with you, Lee. I just think that it's what happens on the day, and I'm just a big believer in luck in football. I think you need that break.
I've become more and more cynical the more football I watch. There's more luck in the game than any of us would like to admit to.
The Crows could do with a bit of it at the moment, because after a great start that had us wondering whether they were about to really storm into contention this year, winning their first 4, they have subsequently been heavily beaten by North, Collingwood, then Footscray and West Coast. The closest they came in any of those matches was 39 points. In between times they had home ground victories against Fremantle and St Kilda. That it was pretty hard to avoid the feeling watching the second half on Sunday night that they won't be a serious contender.
Yeah, I mean, we've talked before about their resilience away from home, and now do we question their resilience at home? I thought the most significant thing of this whole game was that when West Coast got a bit of a run on, there was just never any conceivable chance that the Crows were going to fight their way back into it. You never had anything to give you even the faintest sniff of them getting back into the contest. Now, you've got to do better than that, and the home game before Sunday as well was against St Kilda. You wouldn't have called that a convincing win. Look, I didn't pick them in the 8 pre-season. I'm quite happy with that at the moment.
I think really the whole Adelaide side can be almost summarised by the Jarman brothers. fantastic players when they got the ball in their hands, but when the opposition have got the ball and running, they're not really involved because their leg speed isn't, certainly Andrew's leg speed, maybe Darren's inclination, they don't seem to be involved. So they're very brittle. If they're winning first use of the ball, they can catch her up. But if the opposition are getting first use of the ball, then they can just as easily be beaten.
And they've lost a bit of leg speed too with Kim Costa gone now and added to Simon Tregenza, and Tony McGuinness didn't play. I mean, all of a sudden they're looking a little slow again.
Yeah.
Well, they've got an opportunity to do something about stopping the rot when they play Hawthorn at Waverley Park this week in round 11. It becomes a very big game. There's no Friday night football, of course, because initially Brisbane and Carlton was shifted from Friday to Saturday to enable live television in Queensland, and then of course the events of Saturday night at Waverley resulted in the substitute Friday night match, Richmond and St Kilda, also being moved. So we have 4 day games in Melbourne on Saturday, Richmond and St Kilda, very important one for both teams. The loser of that is in awful trouble. Geelong hot favourites against Footscray, Hawthorn off a win, Adelaide off a very disappointing defeat, North and Sydney, a very attractive match at Optus Oval, but not as attractive as the Bears, the bubbling Bears against the reigning premiers Carlton at the Gabba on Saturday night. 3 games on Sunday, West Coast and Collingwood. Fancy having to go to Subiaco for the Eagles after the sort of weekend that Collingwood had with injuries and a heavy defeat. Essendon and Fremantle at the MCG. Fitzroy and Melbourne, and one of them will be, well and truly off the bottom of the ladder. In fact, the Demons have moved off the bottom. Fitzroy get their chance to perhaps demote Melbourne once more, but once Melbourne start winning, they have a habit of going on with the job to some extent. Well, that's about it. We might wrap up our discussion about it all and go back to the match that was completed earlier tonight between Essendon and St Kilda. The Bombers started the night in front by 20 points, 9-9-63 to St Kilda 6-7-43, and when we joined the action into the second half of it, Essendon were leading by 19 points.
Cover a bit of ground to get there and took the mark safely on his chest about 30 metres out. Very difficult angle.
Yeah, amazing play for young Lappin then as we watch this in replay. Great mark from Mercury. The ruck work actually, Lappin went into the contest with a lot of players as he chips the footy.
Too far there for Kelthorpe. Taken away by Cripps. His kick towards the wing. Lappin, can he gather that awkward ball? Yes, but not before the boundary line looms up, so we'll have a throw in.
Of course, I'll just finish that end. Young Lappin raced into the contest really tight. Barnard just stayed back at it, and it really did create an opportunity, which they've now actually blown.
Mercury's short pass coming unstuck. O'Connor, well done, with strength, and then goes long. Gets it well inside 50. Hurd in a wrestling match there with Young. Now Hurd, good hands. Buick, a very good kick. Look at that one go home. Fantastic goal to Buick. 12-11 to 8-10.
Not to just with that noise. There's got to be 20,000 people here. Amazing. Great skills. And that's the quality, isn't it? That's the quality of James Hurd and the finish of Buick. Fantastic. Practice and more practice gets you that good. I really believe that. Those sort of kicks around your body.
Certainly a plus for Essendon, being able to put James Hurd into this lineup. Quality player. He's been out for a couple of weeks with a hand injury and still able to handle the football with a lot of surety. McLean again, he's been good. Burke to Young. Young goes straight towards Lowe. Lowe from behind. Big fist to it. Gathers by Joel Smith. Shrugs the tackle and then hooks the kick too far. And St Kilda offline. If they had been able to kick a little straighter, maybe a little bit more pressure on the Bombers at this stage. With 8 minutes left, Essendon lead by 24 points.
Trial. It's going short. He had Berbikoff. He's resisted the temptation. He may still go there. He'll be asked to kick it now. Looks like he's going to go for distance and kick in the Wanganeen direction low. He cut one off in the first half in similar circumstances. Wanganeen to ground. Gone, holding the footy. Neil coming over the top. Wanganeen unhappy with the way he was tackled. He certainly had the ball for long enough. Now Neil kicked a couple of goals Saturday night. He's going to kick from 55. The ball at the front of the square, low court underneath, gets back, had a bit of it. Berbatov, and what's happened? Brian Sheehan's going to call it a bounce, is he? He picked that out quickly because Berbatov was away. St Kilda were claiming that Lowe held the mark. It seemed to run down his jumper. And could the Saints manufacture one here? Lowe and Everett, some big strong bodies, and force through from behind. So the points are totaling up for the Saints, but it's not enough. It's 8-12 to 12-11. So what are they at, Rob? They're 2-5 to 3-2.
I'm looking at you, Malcolm, because I thought Lowe was half a chance of getting a free kick out of that ruck contest.
Yeah, I was just thinking the margin's 20 points. Like I said, what are we doing here?
Now Pryor, who took the kick in from Fletcher, the ball rebounds back towards half forward. Hurd grabbed, didn't have the football. Umpire called play on. Now Berbatov over the top there of Nathan Burke. And Burke will take the free kick for St Kilda. He's too far out to score. Isn't he a gutsy little player, Nathan Burke? He's kicked towards full forward, the front of the square. Lowe interfering there, and I would suggest that maybe Berbatov was going to get the free kick. Just being pushed out of that marking contest. And he relieves for Essendon. He's kicked towards the pocket, and James Hurd wraps it up. Well, you wouldn't think that the Bombers would care too much about time wasting. He's going to get a 50-metre penalty. He won't be in any hurry whatsoever as the seconds tick away as far as St Kilda are concerned. 6.5 minutes left, and Essendon lead by
look at this,
19 points.
I mean, Hurd really, that was really sucked in stuff. I mean, probably won't make any difference to the game, but I mean, that's a very ordinary decision. You can see Hurd just letting himself get grabbed. I mean, Hall did nothing to him, really.
Mercury goes backwards to Hurd. At half back. So, Robbo said earlier, the Saints fans giving him a Bronx cheer every time he gets near it, and he is getting near it a few times. Somerville goes to the boundary line as he's done all night.
And that's unfair too, because both clubs agreed to this. I honestly thought that they shouldn't have played anybody else in the 21, but that's a personal opinion. It's not. So why should they be booing one player? Not fair.
Mercury, Wanganeen busy as he was Saturday evening. Inside 50, Harvey sets himself through the fingers. Neil's kick didn't go anywhere, unfortunately, off lap, and well done, Keogh, who has played well. He'll want to get rid of him now. He does, and he just got past Wanganeen. It's into the centre, low strongly to Smith. Well-weighted handball to Jones. Got to go all the way, Aussie. Kick the left. It's going to be close. No, pushing a guy at the end. He had a handball outside.
Why would you get the ball? I mean, I just don't understand some people in players. I mean, when you get the ball at centre half back, you've got the whole paddock in front of you. Why wouldn't you just go direct? Why would you decide on doing anything else? Particularly when you're 4 goals down.
8-13 to 12-11. Fletcher to bring him back in.
Bit of indecision by the maybe the lesser experienced Kilda lineup. It'll be interesting to see from games played, because there's a few Essendon players that haven't played much football out there tonight too. And this is one of them, young Berbatov. He's got a big job trying to contain Stuart Lowe. The kick across the full-back line has been taken by Denham. He's prepared to give the time clock, try and run it down, but Fletcher is there. Harvey was a chance to gather that ball. Fletcher's kick will go close to the line, not far enough. Gathered by Brown, kick it towards centre forward. Oh, he slipped over, but he was still able to judge it. And it was well done too, wasn't it, by big Stuart Lowe, a big man, but still able to control the footy. Short pass, a bit too high. James Hurd gets back. Shane Wakeland's into the action. Tackle, Wanganeen. Tackled by Elliott. Kicked away by Fraser. Free kick, says the umpire. And it will go back to Essendon at left half back. And it could be, is it Hurd or Fraser?
Wanganeen.
Wanganeen, is it?
I thought he must have missed it, because it seemed to be a late whistle.
The other umpire, Brian Sheehan, made the decision off the ball. The second umpire. It was definitely a high tackle.
Just go back to that point, Ian. You see that a lot in footy now. They look for blokes out wide, where when you get into centre half back, to go direct and let the runners run to that.
Just to keep position, I
think it's that balance, but when you, as I said, 4 goals down in a game, I mean,
You've got to get up there, don't you?
O'Donnell from Wanganeen.
I think they had their chance early in that first half.
Mercury. Time ticking away. Essendon possession football. They're home and hose now. 12-11 to 8-13. The Saints had a moment or two.
It's become farcical now.
Cowthorpe.
It's not going to be a pretty win, but it's going to be a win.
Yeah, no one said you had to play it pretty. Remember the Bears doing this against Geelong a couple of years ago, and in the end, actually got up from almost impossible position by a point.
50 against Lowe, then on O'Connor. So unfortunately for the Saints, it's just fallen apart now.
Well, one of the problems here is that there is a loose player for St Kilda playing up the ground. As soon as you see the first chip, I mean, the call should automatically come. Let's go and watch them man up just for this situation.
O'Connor also prepared to just waste a few more seconds.
Now it's right. Everyone's got a man now. I mean, as soon as the first kick comes, that's exactly what should happen. You realise what's going on.
There's the scoreline, 3.5 minutes left. Essendon lead by 22 points. Hurd. Now Anthony Darcy for St Kilda. His kick goes in towards the centre. Darryl Wakeland couldn't take it, neither could Tony Brown. Nathan Burke fierce. Was he a little too fierce? No. Brown over the top to Jones. Aussie's creative. Gets it to Harvey. Harvey forced to kick quickly. He's been shut out fairly successfully. Fletcher on Shane Wakeland, and it goes over for a boundary throw-in.
In all fairness, 5 or 6 kicks in this space of time is not a bad effort if you multiply that by the normal game.
Yeah, should be pretty happy with you. 20 to 25 possessions. Morgan at the back. Shane Wakeland. Tony Brown. Quick hand pass to Harvey. Harvey across that line, and it's been marked by Jones. Jones in towards full forward. A little too high, low. Well done, Elliott. Tried to tap it to his own advantage, then went past the football. Mercury, low off the ground, there's a goal. St Kilda have got another one. So it is a 16-point margin to Essendon with 2.5 minutes left. It's probably not enough time for St Kilda to get up.
No, you'd certainly think that. Once again, the ball went to the low direction, which was good, in the front of the goal square. Elliott was there to assist. That little tap-out was important. I mean, a lot of players will try and drag it back in. Just a little tap-out, keep the ball going, was terrific play.
9-13, 12-11, 2.5 minutes remaining. Centre square important. Well done, Daniels. Harvey, Burke, quick kick, could low mark. He's behind Berbakoff. Berbakoff didn't hold it. Smith, Everett fell over. Chance here. Young, back to Keogh. Goes back to Daniels, too slow. One chance they had. It was a big one too, and maybe it's now gone. Buick just gives to Hurd cleverly. Hurd laterally, but St Kilda should take it and do. Good mark at the second. He's been all right, Young. Centering. Centre half forward. Jones looking for the crumbs with Brown. And also Elliott. And it's a bounce.
That Keogh handball to a guy standing still, that's just, oh yeah, you take the responsibility. Oh, this is too hot for me. All you do is kick the footy. I mean, it's just a judgment thing. But I mean, giving it to a player standing flat-footed, right alongside you, is as much trouble as what he was.
Fletcher tried to clear the congestion, not successful. Kicked out by Morgan, out towards the wing. Now Darcy gets back, but not quickly enough. In went Lucas, fierce at the football, and able to carry it over for a boundary throw-in. St Kilda fans not happy, but I'm sure Essendon fans would breathe well, they don't have to breathe a sigh of relief. They'll win this game now. They are 16 points in front.
Bravo, 17,590. That's the official attendance.
And I think that's fantastic.
Here's Buick, who kicked the all-important goal in this term. Centering kick. Wakeland front. Is it down? No, hanging on. Free kick going to Essendon by the look of it. For Kent Shanahan to Alessio.
Purely academic.
3-2 to 3-6 since we've come out here tonight. So St Kilda have been able to take 4 points off, but Alessio with a chance to increase the margin to 22 points.
Gee, what an ordinary free kick that was.
I think it was before the camera just went on there. You see, let go of his back there. Just must have pinged on a bit. As I said, pick.
First game since round 2 for Alessio. Short that it may be. Good kick. Close. He's got it. (13-11 to 9-13), and that might just about be it. So the Bombers will get the 4 points and improve a couple of positions tonight on the ladder.
In racing parlance, Bruce, you'd have to say, with 3 lengths in front with 100 metres to go, it's always a good lead in sport, isn't it?
A mighty lead, and St Kilda had to make all the running. There's Kevin Sheedy, and they've tried to make the running, and it's forced an error or two under pressure. But they've had a couple of chances, haven't they?
Well, that big guy that was just in the picture a second ago had an opportunity late in the first half, and just down on his ball handling a little bit. Not much margin for error when the game that is to be played is only about 32 minutes in time. This is young Lappin, little kick, finds Peckett from right half back, one bounce and then kicks towards half forward. Harvey from behind Calthorpe just moves it on very quickly. Young and Lowe is on the end of it. That's a mark. Umpire Dennis Rich right on the scene there. Stuart Lowe pointing to where maybe he grabbed the ball first. Now being called to play on, but that's just purely elementary. The kick will not score, and officially Essendon have won this round 10 clash.
Sports Australia exclusive with all the first test highlights.
He's gone out, got in the covers.
2 of the traditional giants of world cricket, England and India, battle it out on the fields where the game began.
In the air and gone.
A battle of tactics between Atherton and Azruddin, the playing bats of Tendulkar and Thorpe, the England-India first test highlights, tonight at 12 o'clock on Sports Australia.
Cats that play the blues longer than me, all sure. I'd like to see that.
Clubs full of guys with great body? Yeah, I'd like to see that.
I hear you guys worship Aussie rules. Hey! What sort of religion is that?
A game that's lasted longer than me. I'd like to see that.
Unbelievable.
It's a game with a colourful and controversial past.
The greatness of history.
A sport of heroes and magical memories. Come with Sports Australia this Saturday at 6:30 for a walk down memory lane in Rugby League's Great Game Series.
The girl